Ho, 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 ho. Hello and welcome to the movie podcast holiday special. My name is Anthony, and as always, I'm joined by my, what should I call you guys? I'm going to call you my reindeers. That's fitting, right? It's the holiday special. I'm Santa Claus. You're my reindeers.
Yeah,
and I'm joined by
your card, I guess.
I'm joined by Shaprancer.
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 It sounds a little undertone racist.
I don't know. It does. It does sound a little...
Dan Donner.
Dan Donner.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy that
Am
got
I
arrested.
from Krypton, by the way?
Where were you January 6th, Daniel? Dan Donner?
Dan Donner.
Yeah.
Dan Donner, Shablitzen. How you guys
Wait,
Wait, Shablitzen. That sounds so much... What'd you call him originally?
Shaprancer.
Shablitzen does sound better.
Shablitzen sounds
But that sounds
way
like a
better.
strain of like marijuana as well. Like,
oh, shit. Y'all on Shablitzen right now?
I'm Shablitzen right now.
Ooh, that's funny. I like that. But also, reindeer... reindeer is also singular and plural. You don't have to call us reindeers unless we're your
Is that
deers.
true?
Yeah, because reindeer, it's like it's plural. It means plural.
It means
Same
plural.
as reindeer.
Just like
So
Lego.
you'll never say
Yeah.
reindeers.
No.
I believe it's called reindeer.
Reindeer.
Yeah.
So my fellow reindeer.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so weird. Doesn't sound like there's many of them.
Yeah, but it's like Lego, like Shay said, right?
Yeah.
Lego is also plural.
I
term.
say Legos.
Yeah, because it's wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'm changing the dictionary today.
Oh.
Dictionary.
And as Santa,
Change yourself.
As Santa,
I don't think he has that. I don't think that's one of his powers. Like, I can give toys to children and
Change
change the
words.
dictionary.
Naughty and nice list.
Yeah.
how you guys
Go around the world. We're good, man.
How you guys doing?
Doing great.
It's the
man.
last episode of the year.
It is. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It is. Yeah,
It is,
I was-
yeah.
you know what? Sometimes with time travel in the show, I forget. But I think this is it.
It is, yeah. So this is the
end.
last time we are recording together in a room.
Yeah.
In 2022, it worked out well that this final episode is also the final time we'll be in the studio together. We do have another event coming up this week, which you'll see on socials very soon, but we won't be talking about it to the new year. So
Yeah. We have quite a bit of stuff in the new year, but nothing coming out.
all right, there's so many episodes already in the
bank,
vaults, in the bank,
you know?
ready to go. Did you also see the number of today's episode, Anthony?
It is 150.
That's like what is it? Like a diamond jubilee? What is that?
That sounds like something. Wasn't that how old the Queen was when she died?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think we need fireworks at this point. It's like
1 second, guys. Let me light those up. Oh, sorry, I got the train fireworks.
Yeah,
going on.
what is that,
The old
man?
locomotive.
that's a little whistle when the firework goes in the sky. You know,
Oh, got you. Yeah, and that sounds you're just like shooting off like a old timey
Oh
gun.
man, I don't know if I can say this. Like, not because it's racist or anything, but like
Okay. Shadonner.
Sesquicentennial.
Why is my furniture?
Yeah, I
floating,
don't
by the
know,
way?
man. I feel like I cast a spell for sure.
That is a
Sesquicentennial. Sesqui centennial.
What's the gift for that one?
The gift for that one, I think, is the
world
Fountain of Youth, I
exploded.
believe. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of Kevin Costner stuff is being pulled up. Merriam-Webster-Dictionary.com, they use Kevin Costner, I guess, as a example
of that
word.
Why though?
Yeah, I don't know. This, like, listen, I'll have a word with
Or
them.
is it?
Or I have a word with Santa,
Is it a Yellowstone
I guess.
ad? for
Yeah,
some
is it a
reason?
Yellowstone ad? I don't know.
I disown that word.
You know what? It is a Yellowstone thing because
Okay,
he
that
was
makes
the
sense.
guide on the 4-part special marking the Sesquicentennial of Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Also, it's funny you mentioned the Fountain of Youth.
I didn't.
Because
I did.
again,
I did.
slight spoilers for Avatar. That was such a small little plot point that was dropped into there. Have you
Yes,
guys
it
noticed?
was. Yes, it was.
The extract from
The estrogen
the
that they take
estrogen.
out.
No, the extract from those whale creatures. I'm blanking
Yeah.
into them.
The narwhal, I believe.
Not narwhal, no.
No.
But it's like, oh yeah, it's like they just get this little vial.
I
and it's
forgot.
like, stop
I forgot
thinking.
about that.
Taruk.
Yeah. Mactao.
Taruk Mactao.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, that's from the first movie, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's what I remember.
I thought that was the
He
whale's
becomes
name.
that. No.
No.
Taruk Mactao is
Jake Sully.
Jake Sully's like
Moniker
the
almost.
moniker that he becomes when he takes on the
Oh,
big
that's
bird
that big
guy.
bird thing.
Big bird dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe Big Bird from Sesame Street. Yes,
Big Bird showed
he
up.
takes
It
him
was like
over.
yellowish, too.
Yeah,
So
he
it's
gets inside of him.
How you doing, Shay?
You know, doing great. We're recording this super early in the morning, which is earlier than I typically ever am alive. So, but you know, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I think I've woken up now at this point.
Yeah, we're on UK time for some reason today.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. We talked about the royal family right before we kind of got into this.
Yeah.
We had a good heated discussion about that. You guys said you love the royal family and you can't wait to
hesitation.
You can't wait to kiss them, I believe is the words you said.
Can't wait to be part of the family.
Yeah.
Who are you marrying from them?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
The one I had my eyes on is no longer with us. Wait,
Queen. I mean, she was single for a bit.
She was single
at the end.
Yeah,
she was single at the end, and you know.
Today's the World Cup too. Today is the World Cup. I know you probably are hearing it after the World Cup, so we don't know who won yet.
Yeah,
who do you guys think is going to win?
France.
I'm going to go with Argentina.
Ooh, I was going to go with somebody else, but they're not. But they wouldn't be playing.
Drake gave Argentina the old Drake curse by saying they're going to win. So
shit!
They're going to not win now.
No, let's see what happens. Well, this is a repeat of the 2014 World Cup.
But they played Germany. Argentina played Germany.
Yeah, with them being, but France was in the World Cup. Last World Cup they won. Correct?
Yes, but they didn't play.
Argentina, no.
They played Croatia. Mm-hmm. Croatia. You know what? Italy's not in it.
So it doesn't matter.
It's a hard time to follow.
And Portugal's out, so it doesn't matter.
Nothing matters anymore. We don't care about sports on this show.
Yeah, it's not the sports podcast.
We were talking about it, like there was no one celebrating World Cup.
I saw I saw a total of 3 Portugal flags.
Yeah.
Those
I think they were with me.
And I was with Shay each time I saw them. They were also my flag. No, but literally
you were holding them.
Like logistically, when the World Cup is happening, when Euro Cup is happening, you see just a flood of cars having a sport. You see all of the flags from around Europe or the world for World Cup. But this year, I hardly saw any flags for anything, and I just think it's.
Did Croatia play recently?
They played yesterday for 3rd place.
Okay, so yesterday, I mean, here in the GTA, I did see people posting stories that they were driving through like Streetsville, and there a bunch of Croatian people were they were waving their flags around.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, it took me a second. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the World Cup still. Like that's what that signifies. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Also, it's interesting to see people celebrate for 3rd place, but I mean, hey, it's a world event. Good for you guys.
Yeah, bronze.
I would never remember who wins 3rd place, right?
No.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Or 2nd place. It's like first or nothing.
No.
First or die.
And the story of this World Cup for me, it's Morocco, right? Like going as far as they did.
Oh, they were fantastic.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Argentina and France.
France.
So
Argentina.
You know, it's Battle of Europe versus South America. So
Shaprancer.
Yeah, but Shablitzen.
Shablitzen is where I'd rather be. But I don't know about Dan Donner. I'm telling you, man. Where were you January 6th, Dan Donner?
Dan Donner sounds like a serial killer.
It does. Yeah. It does sound like
Have you heard of that serial killer that's out on the loose?
The Dan Donner?
Dan Donner.
He dons the skin of a Dan.
Yeah.
As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch throughout the week for our review episodes on all the latest movies and series. Make sure to follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, and don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Join our Discord and write into the show at hello@themoviepodcast.ca. Also, please subscribe and like on YouTube. We are doing huge things on YouTube. We hit our 1,000. I wanted to hit 2,000 by the end of the year, but I don't think we could do that.
But we had a big goal at 1,000. That was a big deal. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like hoping we would hit like 1,500, but not yet.
Oh, you're getting greedy now, man.
I'm not greedy.
Yeah.
Some people get like 200,000 over like some dumbass video of them like doing a stupid trick.
Okay, where's your tricks?
Where's your trick? If you had that stupid trick, I'm telling you.
I'm going to start doing trick videos.
Anthony, why did you upload you doing a kickflip? First of all,
Anthony, why are you swallowing swords? What's going on? When did you learn this?
If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like because that helps the algo and helps
the algo.
Yeah, it helps algo and have a good rhythm.
Who's algo?
Algo is the rhythm.
It's I think it's one of the reindeer.
Algo rhythm. I know, right? You know what? Speaking of swallowing swords, really quickly here, I realized I was watching this video on YouTube, or I guess that's where that guy had 200,000 views. But it was about like how they do the trick of swallowing swords, and I was like, it must be like a collapsible sword or something, and it probably is sometimes. But in this situation, the guy was like, "No, all you do first is you swallow the sheath," and I'm like. The part that I'm having trouble with is swallowing that much and keeping it into you. Like, it's the sword definitely being sharp is sucky, but like the swallowing of a giant sheath is pretty hard. Like,
isn't that
where's
wet?
the trick? Where's the
It's listen, I have a lot of respect for those who do
Absolutely.
it, but also why? Was that the only thing you learned?
How did you
do?
figure it? Like, my thing is like, how did you learn that you had this ability?
How did you practice having that ability? Because you like when you practice something, it's like, oh, I messed up. Let me
It's a
redo
practice
it.
thing, right? Like even David
Oops,
Blaine.
there goes my lungs.
David Blaine's
David
cool,
Blaine,
yeah.
catching a bullet with his teeth or freezing himself, or I don't know, he's in a hot air balloon somewhere.
Wait, he caught a bullet with his teeth?
Yeah,
Yeah, he caught
that was like
bullet with
really early in his career.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember watching the special. but,
Yeah,
like, he's
and then the entombing in the fucking
that
casket
one.
or whatever.
Yeah, that one was scary.
Yeah,
or not eating for however
72 hours? No,
like 100 days,
40 minutes, I think.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that I always think of, like, of the early days of YouTube.
Yes.
Because people would just upload videos and I'd just be like, how?
How is he doing this? It'd be
still,
like
you
it'd be
still
like
to this day.
pre-YouTube as well. It'd be like those like random video sites that
Yeah,
were
like,
like,
oh,
the
Daily
specials.
Motion.
I would watch the
Yeah.
specials. It would be on Fox.
Yes.
He'd
Yeah.
be on the streets.
Absolutely.
He's one of
In
those
Vegas.
street magicians.
Yeah.
He would like all the people would be just like, oh shit.
Wasn't
oh,
he in New
hell
York
no."
when we were there? Wasn't he in a box or some shit in New York when we were there?
we just walked past him.
Yeah.
Hey, get out of there, man.
Yeah, I swear.
I
I think
remember.
he was in New York, and people were like, "Yeah, David Blaine's in there," and we're like,
That
"Oh,
sounds
okay."
that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He's in there. Like, we'll get him out.
Yeah.
Help him.
Please.
We have some crazy news this week. Not only is it our holiday special, but we have a lot of crazy stories to go through in the coming weeks. But I'm going to kick it off, or coming months. I'm going to kick it to Daniel for announcements, because I know he's the announcement man.
I am the announcer. No, at the end of the day, like, we've had an incredible year of guests. We're going to talk about, our recap of the year later on in the show, but right now on the movie podcast, if you want to hear some great episodes, you could hear our discussion, our interviews with the next generation cast of Avatar: The Way of Water. So we were really lucky to have Bailey Bass, Jamie Flatters, Trinity Jolie Bliss, and Jack Champion join us, who really are the stars of the new Avatar film. So they are here on the show. We got to talk to them in person. That was wonderful. They're so wonderful to talk to. Shay, you had a great time talking
God.
with Bailey and Jamie.
Yeah, they were really, really fun, really cool. I mean, we printed out this picture to show them from their 2017 casting photo, and I love that. We both got such similar reactions to that image. Like, they were just like, there's like this level of not embarrassment, but it's like that cringe. Like, oh my god, that was me. Like, oh my god, and it was just, they were having so much fun with it, talking about how they glowed up from that moment. So it was really cute.
It was really cute, and it's again wild to think that Avatar has been this running. There's been the running joke of Avatar the last 13 years of like, when's the sequel coming out? And to know that they began shooting this in 2017, 5 years ago. Like, we were all in a different spot another 5 years ago, but to think that what we're doing today would only come out 5 years from now is kind of wild to think that, right? That's so long. So congratulations on them to making it to the finish line, to James Cameron, obviously. We were really lucky to talk to a lot of people from Avatar this year. So we got to talk with Stephen Lang, who of course is the villain of the film, and John P. Landau, who's I don't know why I gave him his initial. I gave him his because it's his username. It's his Instagram username. Yeah. So John Landau,
Michelle Rodriguez.
and Michelle Rodriguez as well too. Jonathan.
You're so out of the circle
Landau.
that you're using his middle name. Like, at least we're in the circle now, man. We
100%.
call him John or
We-
Jay
I
sometimes.
call him JL.
JP Landau.
But yeah, no, we had a great time talking with him. Also, there's so many incredible interviews out on the feed, including our discussions with Willow, the cast of Willow, Eric Bauza, who just won an Emmy. Come on, like, he
After talking to us,
he literally was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be nominated for I'm going to my 5th Emmy. I'm probably not going to win, but it's just," I'm like, "Yeah, you're not going to win. Well, you won
Shut your
now,
mouth.
Eric.
And then you won it.
And then you won it." So we love Eric Bauza. He's a great friend to the show now. So go check that out. And of course, all of the other incredible reviews that we've done. Babylon is out now too. You'll be able to watch it in theaters this week. We all love that movie. So go hear what we thought about it. There's so many more episodes coming in the new year. We already have probably like 4 or 5 special guests lined up already. So what Anthony said at the top of the show, make sure you follow us everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, at The Movie Podcast, on YouTube, because some of them won't be coming to the podcast side. Some of them will be only on our socials. So you don't want to miss those, because we really want to make the Movie Podcast like a platform, and we want to get you, our content. I hate using content as many places as you can. So look out for all of that and more. Lots to come.
Usually during this time period, I binge watch all my favorite things on YouTube. You know, like I binge watch just because it's like downtime, and I'll like rewatch a lot of things that I've watched throughout the year. So yeah, binge watch all our interviews on YouTube, or binge listen to all our podcasts on wherever podcast services you use.
I love that.
Again, topic of the show is going to be our Christmas wrap up, but let's get into the news.
Man, it's like every time we do it, just a shiver runs down my spine.
It does. It feels good, right?
Yeah.
First news story, or only news story. You know, this came out, was it Thursday?
We were at our friend
Yes.
Nick and Stacey's watch party
Which
for Lego
was-
Masters.
Yeah. Let's talk about that really quickly.
Yeah, please.
Shout out to Nick and Stacey for Lego Master Season 3. We had Nick on our show earlier this year.
Our first guest. Our first guest of the year.
Started 22 off on a high note. And then he kind of like, it's funny because like Nick and I, we communicate, all of us, and
It's a weird way of putting it. We communicate.
I don't know why I was like that. I sound such a narc right there. And then he kind of started ghosting for a bit. And I'm like, dude, where did this guy go? And then he comes back and he's like, yeah, I was shooting Lego Master Season 3. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. And so we finally, he made it to the top 4, I think, at the very end. And then we watched the semifinals and we watched the finals, and we're all kind of sitting there like, if he doesn't win, do we do our gracious loser face? Do we do like the, man,
Applause,
there's always next season.
Consolation
like,
applause.
what do we do? And we're sitting in the theater and he wins. Him and Stacey Roy won the season finale. Like, that was amazing. Like, we were on a high leaving there.
Oh my God. Like because we didn't expect it. Not that we were anticipating him losing. Like, guys, that final
We
build
had
of yours.
I had bets. I had like,
Who are you betting? There's a guy outside you're betting.
we were betting everyone in the theater.
The amazing part was they were all Canadians. So
Yes.
at the end of the day, like, that's amazing to have all Canadian contestants right in the finals. But yeah, there was like, I don't know about this, or I don't know about that. So there was, and they were all good.
Right.
You didn't know who was going to win. You didn't really know. But it's like one of those events like Survivor, or you watch on TV, or Big Brother, where you are part of something that's live that is really, it's crazy. You've never been in an experience like that where and they're sitting in the same,
and we
the
know
theater
them.
too.
We know these people.
and they win. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is not like, video arcade top 10. This is
Hold on.
I don't know where that came from.
No, I just remember you shared. But like, when you would win that, and you're like, oh, cool, I got like,
I won a GameCube game. Yeah.
I won a lifetime supply of double
Timex watches. How many more do I need? Yeah, Rumble Bubba.
No, but yeah, congrats to them. It was wild to see. And then we also had this news, which Anthony is about to read, breaking. We'll kind of like go through it and then react to all these points because there's so much to this. Oh my God.
Sorry, really quick before we do that, it's funny that I mentioned this recently in a review we did, where I said that the only way that we'd come back from the break is if something like this were to happen. And I'm really glad it happened before the break, because I don't want to do an emergency episode.
Christmas Day.
But I hate that I called out something so ridiculous. In my mind at that time, that was like, that's never going to happen.
It's a benchmark that's like, we're going to be on break, but here we go.
Okay, let's get into it. Behind the fall of Henry Cavill's Superman. This is coming from Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch of THR. Nearly 2 months to the day after Henry Cavill declared on Instagram he was back as Superman, I wanted to make it official, he said in the October 24 clip. The actor was forced to acknowledge that no, he will not be back after all, as the new DC Studios bosses, James Gunn and Peter Safran, chart a new course for the Man of Steel in a movie to be written by Gunn, which will feature a young actor in the lead role. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman, Cavill said in a new post on Instagram on December 14th, after being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire. This news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. The sunsetting of Cavill's time as Superman was the clearest indication yet that Gunn and Safran are mounting a substantial overhaul of DC, a reboot that will cut significant, if not most, ties to the previous regimes that handled DC movies for Warner Brothers. Cavill also shot a cameo in The Flash, one of the 4 DC movies set to release in 2023, but sources say that that cameo along with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is now being cut, given that the studio chose to not go forward with director Patty Jenkins' version of Wonder Woman 3. Dwayne Johnson pushed for his return via the much-hyped cameo in Black Adam and a potential linchpin for Johnson's own DC Universe franchise. But Black Adam has grossed $389 million worldwide, its soft performance calling into question Johnson's much-touted plans for a sequel and an eventual Adam vs. Superman movie even before Gunn's decision. The studio had its own plan as new film co-chiefs Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi wanted to make a Man of Steel sequel, having Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight to write the treatment. Classic character Brainiac was to have been the villain of that piece, a source says, which would have been cool. In the end, he was a pawn in Dwayne's failed attempt to control the piece of DC. One insider observer, Cavill sources say, did not have a deal in place to return as Superman, only a verbal agreement that the studio would develop future projects. He was paid $250,000 each for his cameo, so he made
almost $1 million.
He made bag on that, but
for like 3 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, but yes,
4 lines.
Gunn literally took out a gun and shot the Snyderverse right in the head.
Yeah,
it is done.
Yeah,
bury it. Now it's time for a different DC.
Yeah,
or DCU. Daniel,
you were
the first to find out this news.
So I'm wearing my Superman Christmas sweater right now because I'm like,
You're mourning.
What are we talking about today on the movie podcast? Christmas and Superman. So I have a Christmas Superman sweater. No, you know what? I'm actually not mourning. I'm actually like relieved because like this is something like I think James Gunn is doing what no one has had the courage or like the smartness to do going forward, right? Like the DCEU for the last 5 years has been a mixed bag at best. You know what I mean? If we look at the last 5 years of their films, we had Justice League that came out, which was not really liked, obviously because it was the Joss Whedon one, not liked. We had Wonder Woman come out, which was a huge success critically and box office wise. We had Aquaman, did really well at the box office, but people are like, yeah, it's whatever. People are kind of like in the middle with that film. And then it's just been obviously the pandemic, and then we had all the Flash craziness, the news with Ezra Miller. We've had whatever that movie was going to be. We had the Snyder cut come out in some variation in 2021. Right, so it's like it's been kind of everywhere, but it's still just been trying to course correct. I feel like every movie that's come out has been like, oh, is this the course correction for DC? You know, Man of Steel wasn't critically loved. I think it's it's safe to say it's a controversial film.
Very polarizing.
It's a polarizing film. Batman vs Superman, pretty much universally unliked, and people might say, well, no, it's liked. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm not saying we don't like it. I'm saying, look at critically how it did. Look how it did at the box office. Yeah, it made like $800 million, but it's like it didn't do anything past that. No. It really set a stamp on the universe, and people have been, or Warner Brothers was trying to course correct since then. Snyder leaves. Here we are now. Cavill's had plenty of opportunities to, I guess, do cameos, but has not wanted to do it. And I get it. I get why, but also like give him a sequel. Like in those days, he's 10 years older now. He literally was cast as Superman in 2011. It's been 11 years since his casting. He's had one solo movie. He's been in Justice League at the end of it, and he was in Batman vs Superman. Even though he doesn't have a lot of lines.
18% of the film was something, some sort of like
Spider-Man in Civil War had more lines than Superman did in Batman vs Superman, which is crazy to think.
And it's almost near 3-hour film.
Exactly. And it's like, you've had plenty of opportunities to do something with him. And listen, I would have loved to see another Superman movie. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I was happy to see his return. But we're past it now. Like, there's no salvaging the DCEU. It's a mess, like with the New Line stuff with Shazam, and then I think a big aspect of what we're going to be talking about now is Dwayne Johnson, because Dwayne Johnson, like as it was said in this article, like really used Henry Cavill as a pawn in him trying to take over the DCU. Black Adam isn't a Superman villain. Like there's no, it's silly to be teasing. Like the Black Adam press tour was Dwayne Johnson and co saying, who does he got to fight? It's Superman. Like it was him pushing the Superman agenda the whole press tour, and that's not even going to get paid off, and it looks embarrassing now. And then the whole thing with Dwayne Johnson, them supposedly like putting out the press reports, the financial reports that aren't true, and here we are. Like Gunn came in, and Gunn's like, we need a course correct, and the only way to course correct is to blow up the course, and that's where we are now. And I'm happy we are. I want a younger Superman. I want a Superman that is figure out who he is, but also Gunn even said on Twitter, like, this isn't an origin story, it's just he's Superman, he's going through it, and like that's where we need to start. We need a fresh start.
I think he's getting that inspiration also from the Batman. You look at the Batman isn't an origin story. We've seen Batman's parents die a million times. It's funny because we've only ever gotten Superman's origin story twice, really. So it's not like we've gotten that a lot also. You even look back at Spider-Man, Peter Parker, for example. Like, that's the same thing. We're not getting those, stories again, but we're getting these characters in just the early days of their existence.
Yeah.
You look back at Black Adam, for example, and people, how upset they are right now that, Henry Cavill showed up at the end, but he's not going to be, Black Adam didn't make that much money. Like, it wasn't a financial success. It wasn't a hit. So where are these DC fans? Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? Like, where were they? If you really were a DC supporter, if you're a DC diehard, why didn't you show up in theaters?
But why can't they let Zack Snyder finish his vision, though, man?
Oh man, that's a great question as well. I think if Black Adam, like you said in our review, is the closest to the Zack Snyder world that we've gotten in a very long time. But again, no one showed up for this movie, so you got to vote with your wallet. Clearly, I think no matter what, even if Black Adam was a huge success, I think Gunn was going to course correct no matter what.
Yep.
But I think maybe he might have kept on some elements from it. But I think now he's seeing like, no, we got to nuke this place. We got to build it from the ground up. Let's start from the beginning. And that's what we need. And I think people that are upset, I get it. You're fed information and you were lied to, or whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because even if they were lied to, you weren't there to support.
You weren't there to support.
You weren't there to support. So who are you getting mad at? You get mad at yourself, sure, for not supporting. But at the end of the day, like, you weren't giving enough of a initiative to really, as a fan, really love this franchise just to complain about it.
Because they think they can do 2 tweets and then that's it. Like,
it's probably 12 people.
It is,
From what I learned about Twitter and bots and stuff.
Like literally, they think that, sending out a couple of tweets in a change.org email is like equivalent to a picket line. And it's like, it's not. You're not doing anything by spouting your awful, vile hate online. Like, it's just some of the worst shit you'll ever see. And then be like, well, I deserve it. No one deserves anything. Like, you didn't vote with your wallet at that time, and you clearly didn't show up, and people weren't loving these movies. You were all kind of like, this is like, it was just like grasping at straws whenever you'd watch these movies. Like, we were trying to find the best in them. We talk about how we like Batman vs Superman on here, but we're also aware it's not what we wanted. It's not at all what we wanted from that movie.
Like, you look at Batman vs Superman, again, this could be a whole episode, but it's like, hold on. This is the second movie following Man of Steel, which was a pretty, like, I had moments of inspiration and hope, but it was also a pretty gloomy movie.
It's a bleak film.
It's a bleak film. And then how do we follow it up? Let's fucking double down on the bleakness, and let's tell a political, weird side story with, like, these people were killed.
Framing Superman.
Like, there's so much.
World
it's just
Wars.
Convoluted, the movie.
Very convoluted.
And Jesse Eisenberg was not a good Luthor.
Luthor, like, he was more like of a Riddler type person, right? But it's just, again, it's so strange. And I think what sucks about this and why this is so, fans are in upheaval right now, which I get the craziness that's following this, is because less than 2 months ago, Cavill puts out this video, puts out that picture. We get Superman with the curl. Like, you see this happiness and relief on his face. He's like, I've been probably wanting to play this character for so long this way, and here we are. And it's like, you have egg on your face. I feel like Cavill must be freaking embarrassed as hell right now.
You think he's furious as The Rock?
He's probably... sorry?
You think he's furious as The
Rock? He has the same agent as The Rock. Like, so it's like, it's awkward. Like, I feel like there's going to be weird tension there for sure. Cavill's going to be doing his Warhammer show, I guess, if that was announced.
Amazon Prime, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's been, like, on his desk for, like, years. And he's like, maybe one day. Now he's like, because of... He left The Witcher. Yeah. Like, again, like, he left The Witcher right after we heard about the Superman stuff, right? Or right before?
It was like right around that time.
It was right around
that time.
It was right around
the
that time.
week of, if anything.
Yeah. And it's like, he lost The Witcher. I mean, maybe he was upset and knowing he wanted to leave, but he did it with the hope of becoming Superman again. And Cavill has a really interesting history with Superman because he was deemed like too young to be Superman when it was like the J.J. Abrams flyby one. He auditioned for Superman Returns, didn't get it. He finally gets it in Man of Steel. They use him. He's liked, but I also don't think that we've been able to get a Superman that's anywhere as close to iconic to what Christopher Reeve was, right? And I think if you ask the majority of people, Superman, like, they're going to look at Chris Reeve. Chris Reeve is instantly recognizable as Superman for a lot of people, and I think he's in that echelon of what Keaton was for Batman. Christopher Reeve is Superman. Cavill hasn't been given, I think, the real opportunity, the real chance to showcase what that Superman could be, right? Because even in a weird choice at the end of the Snyder cut of Justice League, it's like he's doing the whole full speech. The only thing I really liked in Justice League,
so which one?
The 2017 one.
Okay.
With from Whedon, is that the ending felt hopeful because you have Superman in the world, secret identity
takes out,
happens in the Snyder cut, but he's in the black suit again. It's a very different feeling, and then it's like, okay, then the world ends. It's just what DC was trying to do the last 10 years with the Snyderverse, and I think what Zack Snyder wanted to do was make a Zack Snyder movie of Zack Snyder's story with DC characters instead of putting what these characters mean forward. What these stories should be forward.
There was no plan. You can tell.
Yeah.
You clearly see what Zack Snyder liked about the DC world, which it was like that graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, or those political thrillers that you would find in
like Watchmen.
The Watchmen. But there was no establishing of these characters to lead to these types of storylines. Maybe later down the road, not the second film of this world that you're creating. And I remember when he showed off Batman vs Superman, I was wondering, is this like a sequel to Man of Steel, or is it just its own movie? There was always that confusion, and just that, like, having that confusion, you knew that they didn't really have a game plan, and they still don't have a game plan all the way up to this point. Even with Flashpoint, I don't know if they ever had a game plan of where these characters, because for a company that's for a franchise that's supposed to be integrated with one another, they don't really show up in other people's films. You have characters like Shazam who don't show up. They have Superman in
Black Adam. Like, Dwayne Johnson didn't want to show up in Shazam.
Yeah.
Like, you're a Shazam villain, bro.
You're a Shazam villain.
Like,
it's so this misfire and miscommunication between all parts needs to end, because you're not doing the fans justice, and you're only doing a niche fan service to like such a small
group of people.
Marvel films are not all great, but they're consistent and they connect with everyone. If you are a Marvel lover, and if you're not, you have people who around the world that know what Marvel films and what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, and they can and they'll understand, like, okay, that's Miss Marvel, or that's Captain America, that's Iron Man, that's Thor, that's She-Hulk. They have a spectrum of places they can visit these things, and the story is pretty consistent throughout.
Right.
With DC, I don't know what Aquaman's doing one day to the Flash doing another day. Like, we don't know what's happening.
Where are they taking place?
Where are they taking place?
Yeah, they move around. Also,
what's happening? So it needed to end. It needed to.
You can't keep patching holes. Like, I think it's like that meme of like whenever they slap onto that big aquarium the hole, like to cover it, the ceiling thing. They keep doing that over and over. They're like, maybe we'll patch it here. At a certain point, you got to look at what you're working with and be like, maybe we should just rebuild this, because clearly I can't fix it. There's too many termites. Everything's gone to shit.
And I remember. Sorry, before you go there, I remember before there was a gentleman that was in charge of DC.
Walter Armada?
No, there was another one. Remember, he had a scandal.
Kevin Shahbaz, but he was WB.
He was WB, but he was the president.
But it was that era of, like, there was no head of DC. But it was Jeff Johns and this guy.
And it was like this,
and then they left.
It was a messy business.
And this happened
Changing of the guard happened a lot.
Right when the pandemic was starting, because that's when, like, his news broke out that he was, like, paying girls to do whatever.
And the Ray Fisher stuff and all that, right? Yeah.
So he said that Warner Brothers was focused on single individual DC stories. And as you can see, it doesn't pan out. It just doesn't work. Clearly, that idea of having individual stories that are not connected people don't want that. People want connected stories because they want to feel like what they're watching is, they want the hype of a character showing up from one movie into another movie, into another movie, into another, to build this big universe. So they have to start over. You have to start over because you can't have these characters. They're also older characters now. A lot of these characters who've been doing it for 10, 11 years and they've only had 1 or 2 movies. Henry Cavill, he's getting older, and we really haven't seen him much in Superman. And what story are you going to tell me? We really needed to establish a young version of Superman.
Yeah, because we want to grow up with him.
Exactly.
You want people to look to this character and be like, oh, this is someone that we're going to grow up and love. And look how he was like as he's matured in this world. Again, not that Henry Cavill's old, but Henry Cavill's what, 38?
Probably, yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah, he's my age.
You know, it's like you've had,
and you guys look so alike too. That's why it always throws me off.
I know.
39 years old.
He's 39.
Yeah.
So it's like you've had this character since he's been 29 years old, since my age, and it's like you could have done so much with him in the last 10 years. Because again, you look at when Man of Steel came out in 2013. Man of Steel came out in 2013. The MCU only had 1 Avengers movie at that time. They were only like 5 or 6 movies deep by the time Man of Steel came out, right? And you've done nothing. To make Superman. You know, like kids, like even younger kids, the MCU took off so much to what it did because you also got the kids who love these characters to grow up with it, right?
Yeah.
No Way Home, a year ago this weekend, came out.
Amazing. And
you had a huge generation of Spider-Man lovers in the theaters watching it, having the Spider-Man from their generation represented, right? And you see the love, and you see Tom Holland. Tom Holland looks so young in Civil War compared to like how he's grown and matured in the role. But it's like he's gotten Avengers films, he's gone his Spider-Man arcs. What does Henry Cavill had as Superman? And people are, again, you feel free to love the movies that you love, but like, what are you holding on to? I think is what I'm looking at. Yeah. There's no universe here that's established. Like, we're looking at Black Adam. We're like, oh, this guy has a bunch of like Superman like the kid has like Superman posters and Wonder Woman posters and like comics on it. I'm like, yeah, but when was this established? At this, like, when did this come from? Like, this doesn't mean anything.
But people will argue with you and say, well, they established it in Shazam. But like, then why does this kid not even have a Shazam poster in his room either?
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like,
Shazam, like, you know, like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
The weirdest part about Black Adam was how far they wanted to differentiate themselves from Shazam, that the only person they brought was Jimon Hansu for like a 12-second scene to just show that. But everything else is so distant and disconnected. Like the worlds, and again, we said it again, we liked Man of Steel, we liked Batman vs Superman, you know, on here, but we also understand, and you have to look at everything objectively. You have to really pull yourself out of loving this movie and be like, what is this movie doing? What's it setting up? What is its purpose? Because the movie isn't really a standalone film. Like Batman vs Superman doesn't have closure. It doesn't have a good ending. It doesn't. You
killed Superman.
You don't have a finite
second outing.
Yeah, and it ends on a cliffhanger of like the coffin rising, like everything. So you don't have something that's complete. So it's not like you can even say to yourself, "Well, this is a fantastic movie because it starts and ends, and I feel resolved." It doesn't even give you resolution. So what are you hanging on to?
Yeah.
You're hanging on to half a sandwich.
Yeah, if that. If that. And it's like you look at Tony Stark dying in Endgame, and it's like his death meant something. Superman dying, like we're told it's supposed to mean something. It was a beacon to the world.
You're told. That's the difference.
Told, and it's like you're told. I'm like, when was Superman ever established? Because if anything, he was a controversial figure after Man of Steel. You think a
montage is gonna make me go, I get it now.
You know, oh, the world's mourning for him. It's like, yeah, but like that's not enough. Like this is his second movie.
Really, how many years have passed from that first one to the second to really mourn someone who's changed the world, you know?
And that's the thing. That's where we are. And I feel bad for Henry because, you know, he's, you know, hasn't been given his due when it comes to Superman properly. I blame a lot of people at Warner Brothers, the changing of the guard. James Gunn is coming in and he's just trying to be like, listen, I want more than anything for us to have a cohesive DC universe. Not every movie needs to be teeing up the next movie, and I think James Gunn knows that, especially working within the system of Marvel. It's like, let me take what I love from this, but also let me not do what I don't love about this studio infrastructure.
Because he's got that free reign.
Right? And course correct and do things my way. I am so excited to have, again, like, as much as it hurts, I'm literally looking at my Man of Steel like collector's edition there. It's like, yeah, it hurts, but I'm also just like, seeing Superman at the end of Black Adam, we even said to each other, I'm like, yeah, but what does it mean?
What does it mean?
What is it like? But so what? Like, what does it mean now?
Our excitement only came from seeing Henry again, but we also all knew at that moment, like there was that groan inside of us being like, this is never gonna work. Like, yes, it's nice to see him, but it's not gonna work. You're not gonna be able to give me a good Superman story, and I won't be able to see him in character again properly for another 3 to 4 years at this point, because you don't have a fucking story to run off of.
Right.
So if you're not ready, but you just be like, I got you a cameo today. When it's gonna be done though? How's 3 to 4 years from now on? Like, that's not gonna make any sense to me.
No, and it just, and I really do blame like Dwayne Johnson for
absolutely
the whole marketing cycle. They even spoiled Henry was in it, like on late night shows and on interviews. It's like, well, why are you pitching an after credit scene?
It's like they saw the forecast for like the tickets, and they're like, oh guys, we're not going to do a good weekend. Okay, I think it's time to say that Henry's in the movie.
You know, it's like, it's just wild to me. And it's like, now you guys saw that like Dwayne Johnson doesn't follow Warner Brothers Discovery or Black Adam anymore on Instagram. I know it's so petty, but like,
very petty. And I know that's just a silly thing to like focus on.
Yeah, but this was his, passion project.
Yeah,
he followed the thing that your production team.
So
has
did
made.
he really have
so weird
that his heart in it all the way through?
Right. So that's the thing. That comes down to is this. I'm not going to speak on The Rock and what it would
speak on The Rock. It sounds like a people say like,
listen,
I'm not going to speak on The Rock.
When we met The Rock, when we saw The Rock, he was a good person.
I like The
Rock. We like The Rock. No, we like The Rock.
Loving his fans and all that,
giving us kisses.
But he knows how to sell a movie.
Now that we know what happened with Cavill, it was like this handshake deal and this feeling of
an IOU kind of moment.
Yeah, and giving him
it was a position Dwayne Johnson into power, if anything, right?
Because
he wanted the piece of DC.
Probably as Cavill, you're looking at Dwayne. It's like, shit, this guy's doing everything. He's holding babies. People are crying. He's literally like the Superman of
this guy's Zoa energy drink.
He's cracking Zoa and
Terramana.
Shay took out his Terramana, started drinking it.
Yeah. Now that you bought me that, I'm gonna return it.
You're gonna set it on fire. You're gonna use it as a Molotov thing.
Yeah. To your house.
Why?
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
But yeah, so now that you see that, okay, so he was, this picture that's being painted, like, man, it feels like he was trying to get him to come onto this so he can get people to come watch this movie. But it was all for himself. It was all for The Rock.
Selfish.
And I'm like, I know The Rock is always for The Rock, but when you see it in this light, it seems super dirty and super selfish.
Yeah, especially because a lot of it,
and then
too,
you
like,
leave the I know it's stupid to think, it's just Instagram, but it's his fucking passion project. It's his Instagram. It's his $7 made this film. Is it $7?
$7 Productions, yeah. But that's also like
How
another.
Do you leave it?
That's another reason why I was reading like apparently that Dwayne was setting up Black Adam because Dwayne was given the option to play Shazam or Black Adam, and he chose to play Black Adam. And it was like, and he's been offered a lot of different DC roles over the years. I think I was looking at an article last night about it, and he chose like to set it up at New Line because it was a little bit further away from Warner Brothers, and he would have more control. And that's what he was. I think at the end of the day, it was all about Dwayne Johnson banking on Black Adam being enough of a success that they were going to build his universe, and that's what they kept saying on the press tour.
Right,
we're building our this Black Adam universe. Where it's like we have the JSA. It's like, who cares about the JSA?
We're still getting the JLA.
It's like they predate Justice League, and
but nobody cares.
Yeah, and it's like, but they also like they're not established either.
But you can see like he wants $7 to make all these films,
and that's the thing, right?
That's what it is.
And at the end of the day, it was like, again, we won't know the full story until like one day when it all comes out. But like, it was him positioning himself into power so he could be the production company behind all of these future DC films.
Absolutely.
And I think James Gunn comes in, and I don't think James Gunn has any beef with Dwayne Johnson. It's just that James Gunn was given a job to do, and it's like the only way that I could move forward in my job is by let's go forward with a clean slate, and that's the only way DC could have moved forward.
He also has a vision. Like if he didn't have a vision, he would continue with what DC has right now. He has a vision, and he really cares about what these DC characters mean, and he wants to give them their due.
Yeah.
And so how to do that? We start from scratch with my vision.
Yeah.
And I think having a game plan like this is going to work. You have James Gunn, someone who is...
He understands
comics, and he understands the superhero universe style, and it's his opportunity to shine and really give it his all, and it seems like he's doing that. It's like he's not shitting the bed on this.
No, and one of the things I've been seeing a lot of people upset is like, oh, it's James Gunn, he's going to turn it into like the Suicide Squad or Guardians. I'm like, no, he made Suicide Squad and Guardians
very different movies
as well, but like those are more his styles of comedy because those characters are so also weird. When it comes to making a character like Superman, he even says Superman is his favorite character. I think he's going to know how to write Superman.
He's not going to write
forward.
Superman.
He's not going to make Superman Star-Lord. He's not going to make him like...
He's conscious of what these people represent.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And I think like that's the ability of a good writer, and I think James Gunn's a great writer, that the voice of how to write these characters.
Absolutely.
In. He's not going to write Superman like he's writing Rocket Raccoon or Star-Lord or Harley Quinn or Bloodsport or any of these characters. He's going to write Superman the way Superman should be written.
If you're a DC fan, how could you not be excited?
How could you not be hopeful?
How
for the
could
first
you not
time?
Think like finally,
time.
Like if you're truly a DC fan, you should be excited when any DC movie or whatever is coming out because those are your characters being represented. If you're only happy about the DCEU, then you were just a DCEU fan.
Yeah, you're a Snyder fan.
You were just a Snyder fan. Like that's all that you were. And then people come in and they're like, I would have done things differently. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I'm an associate producer on Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, that's it. You
Can't wait for Rebel
You
Moon.
bought a T-shirt, and all of a sudden now you think you're an associate producer.
Yeah.
No one knows how to work in this business. Even we don't know.
We don't know. And I can't imagine.
I know. So when James Gunn is coming in, he's doing what he has to do. You have to trust it because guess what? His resume has got a lot more experience than yours.
I am so excited as a Superman diehard fan. This is the most excited I've been for who Superman is since 2011 when Henry Cavill was announced, because this is the first time in such a long time that, because the course that we've been taking on the last 10 years, we at least were hopeful for what's coming. James Gunn has said, listen, this is not the first time he's met a lot of the characters in this movie, but he's a younger Superman. He is going through it, and I want to see that. Like we had Smallville. Smallville's my favorite thing, but this isn't going to be Smallville. This is just a younger Superman that we could build a universe around. Henry, again, unfortunately, this is just how the business works. He's going to be 40 years old next year. You can't keep making him be Superman and starting a universe with him being already an older Superman.
And you'll see people be like, oh, well, make him Jor-El. Let's just maybe not have anybody from this world attached. And and I know I keep reading about Jason Momoa wanting to be Lobo.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love that, I'm also totally okay if he's not Lobo, because if there's so much baggage attached to these people.
Sure, yeah.
That I don't want to get any kind of reminiscence at all.
And that's the thing, right? And I was thinking, I remember when we were talking about who's going to direct Superman. Is it going to be James Gunn? I'm like, oh, what if Ben Affleck wants to do it? Because they spoke to Ben Affleck about directing. Right. But I was also just like, well, maybe you keep the Snyder anything away from the starting.
At least the beginning of this. Let's get a couple of movies down here, and then you can bring in Ben Affleck to direct.
So do you guys think, I'm curious for any of you, if James Gunn is throwing everything out, that also means the Suicide Squad moving forward is pretty much done.
He knows what he's losing.
The Peacemaker is going to be pretty much done.
Yeah.
The Batman, Matt Reeves, is very much going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get
successful and people like it.
Right. And it's its own universe. So I don't think they're going to connect it all as James Gunn and Matt Reeves debunked.
It'll be a Elseworld type of story.
Right.
But it makes sense.
As Joker is as well too, because it's successful. It's not what Black Adam was. Not successful.
Okay, sorry.
Just want to confirm.
I do just confirm.
And then the Batman will have its spin-offs and shows and stuff like that. Great. And then the DCU moving forward is going to be built on Superman. And that's, I think, all anyone's ever wanted. Is just
weird,
a great Superman movie.
Weird. Are you sure? That sounds crazy.
Am I saying that right? Superman?
Yeah, Superman.
The greatest superhero ever made.
He is. Well, he's also overpowered. It's too much power.
Okay, man. You would lose in a fight.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You would lose. You go to be like, hey, Superman. He laser beam your head.
I would have a little Krypton shank. Superman, give me a hug, Superman. Give me. Done.
He's like, wait a minute. Why are you hugging me? Who are you?
But super now.
But here's the thing, right? I think going forward, we're going to see is he going to be OP? I think I was watching a clip from Zack Snyder's Justice League this morning, and I'm like, man, like when everyone is punching Steppenwolf, it looks the exact same. Like you see Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Superman all punch him, and it's just like a big sonic punch. And I'm like, all of these, like, there's no differentiating between like what these characters are. Like they're all just invincible gods. So it's like, and one of the lines that I hate, again, not to go into the past, but it's like Superman coming in and his big moment in Zack Snyder's Justice League when Steppenwolf was going with the axe
and it just
hits him. He's like, not impressed. I'm like, why is Superman just like
a cocky bitch?
Yeah, like stop.
You know?
No, it's good. Yeah. But it's just like, but why do you need to be like so
boom boom?
You know, like again, we love that score. We love that score. But it's like, there's no presence to that. You're just like, okay, Superman's going to destroy this guy that they haven't been able to beat this whole movie.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's showing him as OP, and then they all punch him, and it's just these sonic punches. But it's like, you have to show the different levels of all these characters.
Also,
right?
his powers were like very inconsistent. Like they'd be like, oh yeah, he's also got the ice breath still. Yeah, okay, now it's coming into play.
Yeah,
like. You never got it because we never got a proper Superman sequel. We never got a Man of Steel sequel. We never really got to flesh out what his powers are and really understand who this character is. There was such a fast track when you look at Zack Snyder's Justice League to be like, yeah, this guy's the greatest. I know we only had one movie to show you, but he's the fucking best. And then that's it.
And it's funny because when you think about that, and again in 2013, it's like, that's one of the other criticisms we had. It's like 2013, here we are, Man of Steel comes out. When does the next follow-up come out for the DC universe at that time? 2016. You had 3 years where Marvel was just eating your lunch every single year, because in that time they dropped Winter Soldier, they dropped Guardians of the Galaxy, they dropped Avengers Age of Ultron, they dropped Ant-Man, they dropped Captain America Civil War. It's like you had so many, and Doctor Strange, all within that 3-year time surrounding when Batman vs Superman came out. So nobody cared anymore.
Right.
And like we're in an era where it's like people aren't caring about DC because the movies are so few and far between, and the quality of them ranges a lot.
Yeah.
So next year, I know we've been talking about this a long time, but next year we have Shazam, which comes out in March.
Yep.
We have The Flash, we have Blue Beetle, and we have Aquaman that's going to end the year. Again, look, 5 years after the first movie.
Yeah.
I know pandemic and shooting schedules come into play here, but if you're following up a sequel 5 years later, no one's going to care anymore. And now that these films aren't going to be an interconnected universe, not that they need to be, like for people to care about them, but it's definitely going to be a little weird where it's like, oh, these films are just going to release and then it's like,
that's it.
And then it's done.
Like,
you know?
Also, they've had a super long like production cycle as well. Like Aquaman 2 started filming so long ago, like it was really in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's not coming out till the end of next year? What is this, Avatar 3? I'm so confused. Like, why is it taking so long?
Principal production on Avatar on Aquaman started on June 28th, 2021. And now it's coming out at the end of 2023.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the fact that it only started shooting 3 years after the first movie came out,
also unacceptable.
That's too long. That's way too long. Like, and not like, again, you look, Marvel gets a lot of flack for how they release movies and shows, sure, but people know who all their characters are. People love who these characters are, and they know the stories, and they care about them. They show up for them.
Yeah.
You can't be doing this release strategy the way they're doing now because it's not working.
And then people get upset that, like, oh, these movies, they want them to appeal to a wider audience. Well, yeah, when you're pumping $200 million into a movie, you want to make a lot of money back.
You need a wide audience.
So you need a wide audience. You need that general audience appeal. That's why Marvel movies are successful. You don't have to always be like, everyone says, they're too colorful or they're too like fun or happy, like, which is a weird thing to be upset about, by the way.
How dare you?
I know that DC has to be dark. Sure, it can be dark, but then you're going to have to get lower budget movies because they need these. It's a business at the end of the day. They need to make money back. They can't make a $200 million dark, like rated R, movie and then expect $1 billion, $2 billion back all the time. That's not going to always happen. The Batman wasn't able to hit $1 billion. Joker somehow did, and that's crazy. But we'll have to see, would Joker 2 be able to live up to that? We'll be able to pull in that much money.
No,
it may.
I don't think so.
But I also don't.
Didn't even hit $1 billion. So
I
don't think
agree.
It will.
I don't think it will either. But there's always that potential to see that crowd come out. But also you wonder, did everyone just make Joker the first one $1 billion movie because they were curious? They're like, well, what is this going to be?
And
the potential of Batman.
And I think that's what's going to happen again with Joker 2, and
Absolutely.
you have Lady Gaga, and it's going to be a musical. So I think people are going to show up, even if it doesn't hit $1 billion. It's going to make a lot of money.
It'll make back more than it'll be profitable
for the production budget, right? Exactly. So
a couple of days before the Henry Cavill, there was the Patty Jenkins.
Yes, please,
she
thank you.
Gave her script in for Wonder Woman 3 to
James Gunn, Pete Safran.
No,
I think it was just like
Michael DeLuca.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
Pam
yeah. Yes,
and it was rejected because it wasn't the vision. And then she came out with her little Instagram post about what she loved about Wonder Woman, but she won't be directing Wonder Woman 3, and really didn't know where Wonder Woman was. I think Gal Gadot came out a couple of days before that saying, "I love Wonder Woman."
Yeah, it was so funny.
And it's just like
awkward.
See how like
disconnected they are,
disconnected, and no communication, and just how everyone feels like they're on their own building these things, and really there's no one in charge to really guide these directors and producers into what is the big vision for these characters. And I think these directors like Dwayne Johnson, Patty Jenkins had this vision for Wonder Woman. It failed with the second one, and I think that's where a lot of people like me have kind of lost hope in her vision of Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
because it just became, one was great.
One was probably the best film of the DCEU.
Yeah,
right?
and the second one is just such a polar opposite of what one is, and it's just so bad.
But even when you say that, when you say it's the best one in the DCEU, that's still not a very high regard, it is a good movie. I like the first Wonder Woman movie, but there's so many things in that film that I'm like, that's cheesy, that's stupid, like that doesn't make any sense still, but still great stuff. Like you talk about No Man's Land, fantastic sequence. Yeah. But overall, it's still not like a really good movie. It's just it's a good
film.
It's a really good movie, but it's not like the best. Like it's not like wow, this is gonna pave the way.
And I think it's mostly because of the third act of that film for sure is where it falls off. Because I think Acts 1 on the mascara and then
Act
going
2,
to the World
phenomenal.
War, fantastic. And then it's that third act that really that hinders that movie. But Wonder Woman was also seen. We were hyped after watching it.
We were super hyped after
because
watching it.
we also just had Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, where we were just like, and Suicide Squad, where we're just God, Wonder Woman. We thought like Wonder Woman this is the turning point for DC.
This is where it's going to get really good.
This is where it's going to start getting really good. And then a few months later, Justice League came out, and we're just like,
holy shit,
what are we doing?
Hey, we were talking about Suicide Squad. Horrible movie. Horrible.
2016?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Horrible film.
And it's, again, like, there's no building a universe in there. Because there was I feel like every single decision within the DCU was controversial. And I think the controversy all began with the casting of Ben Affleck as Batman. I think literally that was the point. That was the flag point of this universe is going to be very different. It was literally that moment. Because Superman breaking Zod's neck was a controversial thing, but you could have built on it with better writing in the sequels. But as soon as Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
No.
I'm just saying that is when the controversy started.
That's when they were like, oh, we're going to be a polarizing,
Now we're casting Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, which is a big controversial thing at the time. We're casting Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Fucking
we got
weird.
Jared Leto as Joker.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was all of these decisions built upon it, and then the films just were not doing well.
And then you also have they also skipped over major storylines. Like you look at, Batman vs Superman, and clearly you've already had the Red Hood storyline occur or something along those lines.
A Batman who's been Batman for 20 plus years, but also the police still don't believe he exists.
Yeah, he's like a myth, but also then he had a Robin. Robin's dead, and
it's Dick Grayson who died.
It's Dick Grayson who died, which is the different one.
I feel like all the lore that we got for those movies too was all just from like Zack Snyder posting on Twitter or Vero.
Yeah,
just like, oh, this was going to be Dick Grayson, or like, oh yeah, he already had this fight. It's like, but why though?
It's like, oh, well, why did we get to see any of
Even
that?
Wonder Woman herself was always like this mysterious character. Like you didn't.
She's been in the history for forever,
for 100 years, we'll say
at least.
And this is her only appearance in the Snyder's world. Is the Doomsday.
She held herself from the world for 100 years. I'm like, but there was another world war after yours,
right? And then you got Patty Jenkins telling the story. Well, in the 80s she was there, but that doesn't make sense because it felt like when Batman saw Wonder Woman and saw the picture and compared 2 to 2, it's like,
Who is this?
This is the
What
same
is
person.
this?
Yeah.
Oh my
wait,
god.
she was in this huge event that happened in the 80s. What, no one remembers that?
No.
Things like that matter.
Oh,
Those
no one
little-
does remember it though, because didn't they wish like everyone?
Oh, yeah, they
remember the
wished
wish
at
film
the
and everyone
end.
at the end. Well, I don't think they wished for people not to remember, but it was like that. Like everybody unwish your wishes type thing, and it's like, what the fuck is this movie? And
you know,
that-
like reverse rub the
Oh, I
land.
forgot that
yeah,
part then.
yeah.
But
I
don't
wish
know,
I didn't remember.
little things like that make those little, we'll say, strings need to be need to make sense.
Yeah.
Especially building a world like this. You can't build it just on, oh, okay, one day Wonder Woman's flying her plane, and the next day, well, she can't fly anymore because it disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it is,
She lost it. It's invisible, right? Remember?
Invisible plane. Yeah, it just, I'm so happy that this is happening, and
Reset.
it's heartbreaking. I think for me, the most heartbreak I get is for Cavill, because at the a month and a half ago, he came out with that video and he was so happy. He did all those red carpets for other premieres that he was just showing up for, and everyone's like, how do you feel like coming
Welcome back, man. Welcome back. We
And
can't
he's
wait.
like, I feel hopeful. I feel like this is, we're going to do him justice this time and all that. And it's just a bug squash. And I said it in a couple of podcasts ago, I wonder how James Gunn is going to manage the harder decisions. And that because of his position, you have to be a certain type of character and have a certain type of thinking and feeling, and how does that come out of such a, like, James Gunn wants everyone to do good, like,
Yeah.
Right.
clearly all the people that he's helped and made part of his movie, you could tell, but he had to make this decision, and it's a hard one. I don't think this is the end. I don't think this
More is going to come out.
well, no, I mean, like, I don't think this is the end of Cavill as Superman. I just think it's the end of Cavill as Superman now. Because I think one day, one of the biggest events in the DCU is going to be Crisis on Infinite Earths, where his version of Superman will show up. And it will be grand, and it will be big, and it will be a huge thing. I think
I can see that.
There's
I can
no
see that
other,
10 years from now.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's-
absolutely 10 years from now.
and he can be old Superman. He could be
Kingdom Come Superman,
Earth
yeah.
1. Because
Yeah.
there was that Earth 2 Superman which was the main Superman, but that Earth 1 Superman was from the 1930s. And it wasn't Kingdom Come. He had gray hair.
Yeah.
But he was just like this great Superman. He dies.
Yeah.
Because Superboy Prime kills him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is great. It's just that great story.
But here's the thing: if
Identity
Tobey
Crisis.
Maguire and Andrew Garfield could come back, Henry Cavill could come back in
absolutely.
the future.
And
in the
Henry
future.
Cavill,
I believe that 100%.
It's not like he's aging to the point where he's like an old man.
No,
the guy's
no.
like pretty jacked.
His muscles are gone tomorrow for some reason.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest event DC has on their
build up
plate.
to, yeah.
Because there's nothing else after. Like there's little stories, but the Crisis on Infinite Earths and then Infinite Crisis that happened many years after. Those are huge events that everyone will remember, and I think that's where
they're
James
they
Gunn
could
is
build
kind of
to.
directing, because we had the Infinite Gauntlet, which is the biggest Marvel event, and then it was Secret Wars after that, and then like even things like Civil War was a huge event, but they told it in such a small story. So yes, I think those are the
he can
words.
come back.
I believe that.
But
I believe that.
down the road for sure.
Down
Very,
the road,
very
100%.
far down the road. Like, I can't even see that road right now,
No,
visibility's low.
Do you guys think there's anything from this current DCU that moves forward?
Yeah, Ezra Miller for sure. I think he's gonna push forward and be the Flash.
We talked about Peacemaker. We talked about we have the Flash, we have
Shazam,
Aquaman, Shazam.
anything.
I think it needs. I don't know where Blue Beetle stands. I don't know.
Blue Beetle's coming out as of now. Again, I wonder. Like, I think
Does it take part in the same universe? I don't know.
What you said, Anthony, and what you said, Shay, when we started this discussion, we spoke about this like world-ending events. Like, this is what we would talk about if we were on break.
Correct.
You just said we always wondered, what is James' role here? Is he going to make the hard decisions? And I think that with this news that came out this week, there is nothing that's off the table. James Gunn could go anywhere with this.
Absolutely.
And he's able to make whatever decisions he wants, because clearly Warner Brothers says, do what you want.
Yeah.
Make us successful.
Make us money.
Make us money. And he knows to do that they are willing to throw out 10 years worth of storytelling.
Air quotes.
That was established because we need a clean slate moving forward. If you want any type of semblance of what Marvel has, again, they're not going for the Marvel formula, but they are going for at least what Marvel has in cohesive storytelling.
Right.
this is where it needs to begin. So I'm really curious because he said at the beginning of the year they have more news to share about what this is going to be. I'm really curious. I wonder if they have an actor in mind, what they have like in play going forward.
Yeah, give me that that Marvel phase 1, 2, 3 breakdown that they do. Like, I'm okay with seeing a bunch of titles on the screen because at least this time I'll believe it.
100%. It's not going to be a press release again. And we knew that was another moment that I felt like we were doomed to fail for the DCEU. It's like, again, not that we were doomed with the Ben Affleck announcements. I'm just saying this is controversial.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But when the movies and casts were announced on a press release on a random
Green Lantern Corps, Ray Fisher, Cyborg, Ezra Miller's Flash, Justice League 1 and 2. This is happening. It's like, yeah, but there's no fanfare to it. And then that was one of the first times Marvel did their event for, let's show you what's happening in phase 3. Yeah.
And now every movie announcement should be special.
Yeah.
It should never just be what we've been getting on Twitter the last 10 years with DC. It's like, oh, there's a Hawkman movie in development. No, there's not. There's maybe somebody thought about it, and it's being published everywhere.
Pulled,
but you don't really see that with Marvel. Or when you do see it, it's like, oh, there's rumor this is happening. Then at the next event, Marvel will be like, and this is happening.
And there are creative ways of going around it too. Like, not everything has to be I think for DC to really establish who they are, it makes sense to do a fan, like, I don't know, a fan event or some sort of event which showcases this is what we have for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Because when they did Wolverine and Deadpool, there was such a creative way of doing it, because it was like, let's make this trailer and let's throw it on YouTube. It wasn't this huge event that they had to, but I think for DC, because it's been so long and we have no one driving the car, and now that we do, we need to really showcase.
Give us some hope.
You gotta say, you think Marvel is good? Look at what we have. And you need that competition. You need these two to kind of like butt heads, because you want to create these worlds. And what Marvel did, which no one has ever done, is create characters and create universes that appeal to everyone. Like, I could tell you, people who would never read comics love the Marvel universe because of these movies and how great they are.
Look at WandaVision. Like, did you ever think people were going to care about Vision and Scarlet Witch? Like,
this much
more people know who Vision is more than they know who, like, Superman is at this point. You know what I mean? That's what's wild,
and that's what matters. That's what brings money, and that's what brings these great stories. Because when you create this dynamic of the two, you put, like, the importance of these characters and make people really care, and that builds more stories and builds those things that we wish we always had as kids.
And it's not competition, like, it's competition, like, but Kevin Feige and James Gunn have always said, like, we want competition. You want each to challenge each other, but you also want the other ones to succeed, because they're not just like, Kevin Feige isn't just a Marvel fan. He started working for Richard Donner, the man who gave us Superman. Like, they are fans of comic books. They, more than anyone, know that if DC is, like, and I'm just using an example because not all, I'm just saying, if DC is pumping out shit, that's going to reflect on Marvel, because people are looking at what DC is doing and they're getting tired of it. They're like, oh, this is dumb. This is stupid. Superhero movies fatigue, and then people aren't going to start showing up for Marvel.
Correct.
Because it's like people are going to start categorizing it as all superhero movies, put them in the same box, and that's how you start to get, like, that balloon to really collapse, because the quality is not there.
Do you know how many times I've heard people say, like, "Oh, I watched that Marvel movie, Batman vs Superman," or like, just they'll say things that like no, that's a DC film. They're like, what's a DC?
Yeah.
Like, DC's done so much damage to their brand, they don't know what DC is anymore. But also, and this is the most wild thing I'm going to throw out there, and I think maybe you guys will agree.
I'm going to hold down.
Please hold down. If DC is successful, if they're able to do such an amazing job and make such quality content films that, like, really rival Marvel Studios, then there's a potential that one day in the world we might get a Marvel versus DC movie.
I said that.
100%.
Like, I said that.
Yeah, Kevin Feige and James Gunn are already great friends. And again, if there's quality and it matches, it's like you want to bring that friend over to your house, but you don't want to make a mess, right? Yeah. You're like, hey man, like,
we don't want to play with you. Yeah.
My mom, like, you got lice. I don't like it. You can't come over. But you get rid of your lice, you're over at the house.
But it's funny though. It's funny you mentioned that. Guess who was campaigning for a Marvel versus DC movie this year?
I know. And Daniel, like, you got to bring it up,
Dwayne, like, you're not, like, I'm sorry, man, you're not going to be the one to make that happen, man. Like, you're Black, like, again, you chose to play Black Adam, man. Like, again, like, I get it, you look like him, this has been your thing you wanted to do, but it's like, you can't build a universe around Shazam again, which, no offense to our Shazam fans, we love Shazam. He's not an A-lister.
No,
he's not. He is not he's not someone that you build a universe around.
No,
and then you're playing his villain, and you're trying to make it's like doing a Fantastic Four movie without like, oh no, Doctor Doom doesn't. Doctor Doom doesn't want to fight the Fantastic Four.
Why?
You know, he wants to fight someone else. It's like no, but he's your villain.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the Joker wants to fight Wonder Woman for some reason. It's like,
okay.
Why are you building your universe off of like promising this fight? You know,
and it was very snake oil salesman techniques.
It was something we already saw too, because we already got that Batman versus Superman. Why does Superman have to fight Black Adam? You know, like why does he have to be put in a position where he has to fight someone? Yeah,
and we've already seen Black Adam in his own movie fight someone who has a lot of power. So what is it going to be? Just a repeat of? We've seen Superman fight Zod. So is this just going to be them destroying another city?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like what is this fight going to be? It doesn't matter. Yeah. I think they look at it as a very singular view of, oh, you need the unstoppable force meets the unmovable object. It's like, yeah, but you don't need to do it where it's like the power levels are the same. You know what I mean? That's not interesting. Look at what the Dark Knight did. Batman could beat the shit out of the Joker, but that's not what makes the Joker an interesting villain, right? And that's where they used it, like the unstoppable force meets an unmovable object properly, right? It's not just because they're the copy and paste of the same characters. It's because there's actually motives and emotions and character dynamics that make that an interesting story. And at the end of the day, Black Adam was the most fine movie we watched. It was like, fine, yeah, whatever. Like, there's cool moments in it, but it also feels like a movie from like 10 or 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that's not moving the needle forward at all.
Definitely not.
You're not exciting people. People didn't really show up for it as much. And to see what Dwayne has been kind of like pushing on socials the last last couple of months, and like comparing it to the first Avenger, I'm like, yeah, dude, but you're not building the universe from there. And it's just been really just...
He also changed the character's story arc. Like, he made him a good guy. He wasn't Black Adam's not a great guy, and that's what makes Black Adam Black Adam. Like, he's this bad guy that's anti-hero, but you also like the things that he does and what he represents. He's not an evil dude. He represented an evilness in the beginning of his career in the comic world, but I think what we know of Black Adam since 52 or New 52, after that whole relaunch, he was someone who really cared for that city, that country, Kahndaq. So, and he would do anything it took to make that place, you know, the mecca of the world for him. And clearly how they envisioned Black Adam was like, they didn't get that across properly, and I think that's where they missed the mark on the whole story. And I feel like that's just Dwayne, and just Dwayne not having the ears or even the hair. He looks like Black Adam so much physically, even his face structure looks like it. It's just he missed the mark on a lot of the little things that would have put that movie over. Like,
sometimes I wonder, like, did he even read a Black Adam comic? Like, did he spend any time researching the character? Because it never feels that way.
I was seeing in the article I was reading last night as well too, you saw Dwayne Johnson tweeting a lot about Lobo in the past, where like he almost played Lobo, and then he was also campaigning too for Green Lantern, where you'd see him do teases on Instagram and Twitter, and this is like in 2011, 2012, right? So it's like this guy obviously was he was pushing himself to be whatever character he wanted. He's
too big for any character. That's the problem with The Rock. He's too big for any comic character to play, because you'll always see The Rock. You won't see anything. You won't see the character. It's okay when he plays Hobbs, because like.
But he made that character his own.
That's his own character. It's an established character.
You can't do that with superhero
existing
characters
IP.
And existing IP that people have a love for. They want the character that they've read on the big screen.
We didn't even touch on Green Lantern either, because that's technically part of the DCEU as well.
Is it coming out? It was like
no. I'm talking about Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern.
Oh well, it's not part of the DCEU.
Well, their goal was to eventually get it there, right?
They wanted to, but I think even James Gunn was talking about that on Twitter this week, because somebody was saying like, "Oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds was going to come back."
And no,
and he's like, "No, he wasn't."
No,
because we go back to Green Lantern in 2011. That was supposed to be the starting.
There were so many false starts in this world, right? So many false
starts. It's like you had, again, and look what happened with that. It's like very similar. Like, things repeat all the time. It's like Nolan's doing his Batman trilogy, doing his own thing. Well, DC's trying to do their own, but we finally have someone steering the ship.
That kind of just inspired a thought in my head. Like, do you see Cavill ever go into the MCU.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? I think
That's where he'll thrive. It's like when a player leaves a shitty team.
Yeah.
And they're like, we haven't won a championship yet.
Kevin Feige
Kind of like the Leafs, I guess.
an
That happens a lot with them.
Because you have a lot of people like Henry Cavill as just a person, as an actor. So you have the opportunity to take him and put him in. It's going to be difficult because all you're going to see is Superman. But do you put him in a character that's similar to Superman, like Sentry or Hyperion? Who's from a different Earth type of universe? Or do you throw him in as Wolverine? Because he is, even though he's a tall guy, he also looks short.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He can look stocky, I think.
His mass,
he's super wide.
and his head is not as big as his body.
Right.
So
and I know he's been rumored a lot for wanting to play that role as well.
Right. And he would be a great Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because he has the build quality and he has
The claws. He has
the hair too. Because I remember in The Man of Steel, he comes out of the ocean with, he has the beard,
hairy chest. I remember that scene. Of course I did.
Just put claws on him and, put some, he could be, I don't want a shorter Wolverine. I don't think it'll look good on screen.
We don't want a short king. Yeah.
Well, it's not that. It's just, I just don't see, when I see Wolverine, even in the comics,
you
he
want
looks bigger.
him,
even
right?
though he's shorter, you want bigger.
Because I think
Hugh Jackman's too big as Wolverine.
Yeah,
he's too tall.
He's very, because
you need someone in the middle.
Hugh Jackman has almost like a Clint Eastwood like presence. He's just like very tall and like he's like
Clint Eastwood would have been
kind of lanky. Yeah,
he is because Hugh Jackman obviously is huge and ripped, but when he's not, he's a lot more slender.
He's like Groot, in the first Guardians film.
But when I was thinking like Wolverine in comic book panels, we always see Wolverine at the forefront in his panels, so he always looks very
top
big.
heavy.
And then when you see him like when they
heavy.
do like the ones from afar, he's just like a
He's a little fighter.
But again, I'm curious to see what Marvel's going to do, if they're going to embrace him. I don't think they'll put him in a Superman-esque role.
No.
I just want Henry Cavill to
thrive. I want him to thrive.
In I think it was 2018 or 2017. I remember talking to you guys about this when we were leaving Black Adam. You see a picture that Dwayne posted on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill and Dwayne Johnson were together on Christmas Day, sharing their Terramanas and Zoas probably. Yeah. And like they were talking like Superman, like how Dwayne does his weird hashtags, right?
Yeah.
It's like the man in black meets the man in blue or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like they were already teasing this 5 years ago. And the kids in Avatar were already shooting.
Yeah.
We're shooting the movie already.
Yeah, they grew up.
And they grew up and now this movie's out. But like they were already teasing this back then, but it didn't work. And now, again, it sucks that the way things happened the last 10 years. But for the first time, like I was saying, I am so hopeful for the future of DC.
And don't get upset before something comes out. Like, wait to see.
James Gunn's already ruined it, though.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Fire James Gunn.
Fire James Gunn. No, like let's just give it a chance. You've given a chance to whatever the hell that thing was before, and it didn't work out. Clearly, like. You can't say it worked. You can't say what came before. Mm-hmm. You can't say the DCEU worked at all because there's no chance in now. You don't have to be a psychologist or a doctor or a scientist to know that it didn't work. You can literally just be born today and be like, the DCEU didn't work. It's just a fact, and it's unfortunate. And
you need change.
It sucks. You need change. At this point, like I wanted my lifetime to watch a good DC Universe movie. That's it.
And even like Marvel needs to change too. Like,
and they will.
And that's the thing. Like, you have to give these people the opportunity. I think Kevin Feige knows that he has to change the dynamic of Marvel films, because if he wants this to continue, he's pushing out every type of superhero film out is not going to always win. He's also dealing, like, if we can use Kevin Feige as an example, he's dealing with the weakest set of characters in the MCU right now, and he's still delivering.
Mm-hmm. Look at that, like, and that's what's wild to me. Where it's like, are you talking like weakest in terms of like characters from the comics, like power levels, or just like as a known?
I think lesser known, right?
When you remove Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, who else?
But and that's the thing. But like Marvel was still able to make them successful because there is at least good storytelling, characters that you like behind it, and there's a power of knowing like, this is what's in the world of Marvel. Where with DC, we've been having this thing where it's like, well, it's sort of connected, like they dropped that line in Aquaman that you helped defeat Steppenwolf, and then Shazam, Freddy has a batarang, Ben Affleck's batarang somehow. You know, it's like there's no cohesiveness, there's no tissue. And again, not every movie needs to lead into the next one, but you at least want to have a foundation. You want to have a structure where it's like Shay said, it's like one day we may get a DC versus Marvel movie, but there's no way in hell Marvel wanted to get anywhere close to the shit show that's been the last 10 years of DC.
They were just like, hey man, we'll hang out someday. You know, when you bump into somebody that you don't want to hang out with?
Yeah, we got to make plans for that.
Well, honestly, you text me your address and I'll be there. That's what they kept doing.
I remember, I think this was like in the 1995, 96. I bought the issue of Marvel versus DC because it was like one of those events. It wasn't the greatest book ever, but it was like interesting to see Batman versus Captain America.
Yeah.
Or Aquaman versus Submariner.
Yeah.
And who would
Batman
win?
versus Wolverine.
Or there was I don't know if it was Batman, because Batman fought Captain America.
Oh, Batman for Captain America. Okay.
But they did Shazam versus Thor, and they had like this interesting like dynamics, like magic, water.
Right.
It wasn't the greatest story. I think I don't know who Superman fought. I forgot who he fought. I think he fought Onslaught as Magneto and Professor X. But it was a cool story, but it wasn't the strongest.
Right.
But I think for these two worlds to continue, I think they need to fight each other. I know that sounds weird, but like eventually superhero films will like become boring because you're like, oh, I've seen this, I've seen this.
Absolutely.
And you put those two together, those hype worlds, if you create a great DC universe, Marvel already has a great Marvel universe. If DC universe, then once you even create the DC universe, you can go and tell other stories.
Yes.
Like, imagine, I think it's too late now, but imagine we got more Batman from Michael Keaton. Like we actually got the story of Michelle Pfeiffer and like Catwoman and Batman and having that relationship, which was the strongest of all the relationships that I've seen of those two.
Well, there was a rumor too that one of the films that was canceled at DC was a Batman Beyond film with Michael Keaton. I'm like, yeah, that would have been great. But you also realize that, like, you know what? Like,
it wouldn't work now.
It wouldn't work because the amount of sacrifices that I guess you have to make in starting fresh. Because we know Michael Keaton's back in The Flash, and he was back in Batgirl. And again, Gunn wasn't there, but with Batgirl. But like, he came in, DC already had scrapped that film. It's like, it's easier just to move on and be like, you know what, we have to just push forward. We're going to probably lose a lot of cool ideas along the way, but we got to move forward because having another Batman on screen, because there was a time this year where we were like, shit, we have Robert Pattinson, we have Ben Affleck's coming back, we have Michael Keaton going, and it's like there was just so much happening that, you know what, we just have to start fresh. I was going to say, like, people look at Eternals as one of Marvel's failures.
Sure.
You know? We really liked Eternals. It got has Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
Still made more money than Black Adam did. Is what I'm saying. Like, it made $402 million worldwide, which is still not bad.
Yeah.
It's not big Marvel money, but it also
it's a low performing Marvel number,
you know, but it's like it still made bank.
Yeah.
So it's like
this is Eternals that no one really cares about, and
no one knew who the Eternals were.
No one knew who the Eternals were. Yeah. There's no major actor in that film. There's a good cast.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like Ben Affleck pulling it.
Yeah.
You know?
It was like
The Rock.
The biggest actor we had in that movie was Angelina Jolie. You know?
Yeah,
she was like a side character in the whole.
Yeah, she wasn't even heavily marketed that way. Yeah,
so it's like
Salma Hayek.
Yeah,
but you don't have The Rock. You have The Rock alone should be pulling in $1 billion just by his name, according to
The Rock.
Him.
Yeah. So that's where we are now with DC. Again, I'm very excited to see. Again, this is not the end we're talking about.
No.
This year it is.
This year.
And again, so Shay, what's your next benchmark?
What about Nostradamus?
What's your next
James
benchmark?
Gunn leaves the DCU.
I can't do it anymore, guys.
I'm not so stressed out.
Wait, you put it in
the world now.
You said, what the fuck?
Cavill would cry.
Yeah,
he'd be like, so am I coming?
Cry.
So the guy who
Cavill would be knocking at the door and be like, am I coming back now or what?
What am I doing?
Get out of here, you.
But I think when we come back, we'll have more news. I hope, because Gunn said that there will be not titles, but a timeline will be released in the new year.
They should.
I think in January.
They need to.
I think he wants to do it in January. I think
start the year right.
His discussion with Zaslav was great, and people liked it and liked his vision and what the timeline looks like, and I think he's going to release that.
One question for you.
We're going to be invited, Gunn.
100%.
You're going to send us. Shoot us out of a gun.
Last question I have for you guys on this.
No more questions.
what year does James Gunn's Superman come out?
2024.
Either 4 or 5. Yeah.
I'm going to say 2025.
Yeah. I think 4 is
the beginning of
December 17th. Or whatever Friday, whatever that the third week of second week of December, second week of December, that Friday, that's when Superman comes out.
15th, that's the 15th.
15.
I'm going to say like 24 would be great, but I think 25, like they're just like,
oh, so I was looking at 23. My bad.
Yeah, I think 25 is just like we're going to do a Superman movie dropping in 2025,
13th.
And that's going to be the first in a 10-year plan. From 2025 to 2035.
I think that's realistic. That's very realistic. Like that gives them enough time. I think if for some reason they were able to fast track, which I don't think they will, then it'd be 2024. But that is the hope.
Yeah.
The truth is it'll be 2025 earliest.
Yeah.
And one thing we should keep in mind, now that Avatar 2 came out and the technology that we've seen in Avatar 2, it is crazy to think that live action is going to transition into something very similar to Avatar style of shooting, where it's like such real CG where the actor is just motion capturing at this point.
Right.
Okay. Well, we again, what we should do, like we did back in the day, in the
I know what you're gonna say.
Let's pitch our Superman movies sometime in the early new year. Because I doubt whatever Gunn has announced, it's going to include storyline or casting or anything. I think, and the casting is going to be interesting because we're going to be looking at younger actors. But yeah, we should definitely pitch what we want a Superman movie to be.
Kind of like how we started the show with pitching our Batman film.
Exactly.
We should start next year with pitching our Superman movie.
Yeah. Can't believe it's the end of the year. What a year it's been.
What a year.
Is this our wrap up? Let's lead into the
Let's wrap it up.
Do we have let's talk about
some
trailers?
We had some trailers that dropped.
Yeah, let's talk about some trailers.
Scream 5?
Scream 6.
Scream 6.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Scrix.
Yeah.
Skrillex, I believe, is doing the theme.
Scream 6 and Barbie. We've got our first look at Barbie. But let's talk about Scream 6. Clearly, they're in New York. They're on a subway.
Home Alone 2.
They're getting stabbed. I feel like
Scream 6 lost in New York.
Scream 6 lost in New York.
You mentioned, Daniel, that you like the dynamic of the idea of like this is now happening in a big city, instead of a smaller town. But you also said I like. Yeah, you were mentioning. I think you were talking to me about it, and you said like, yeah, I like that. Scream is now that scene where they're all in the subway and all these Scream characters show up, and it looks like they're being hunted and just
imagine it all takes place on a subway.
Damn.
But it's also New York, so it's a pretty big place, so you can get some interesting type of storyline where it's not like, okay, we gotta drive over to one house to another house. This is not happening at a house party. This is definitely happening.
We're done with the suburbs
the biggest
now.
City in the world.
I think
going to the metropolitan side.
I think Scream 5 did such a great job of being like, let's be meta about this. Is kind of like do like a Force Awakens of like this is very similar to the first film, but we're doing our own thing. I think bringing that now to New York City is gonna be really, really cool.
It reminded me of Jason Kills New York or whatever.
Jason Goes to Manhattan. Did take Manhattan, I think?
Yeah, kills Manhattan or takes Manhattan. I don't know
Jason
why.
made in Manhattan.
I think it's the subway sequence.
Yeah, well, the people kept quote tweeting that with like the scene where he pushes the lady on the subway, and they're like, I want this to happen because there's a Jason mask in the subway in the Scream 6 trailer as well.
I bet you it will.
There was also a great Ready or Not.
There was a good Ready or Not
vibe.
Same writers or directors?
Same directors.
Yes, that's it.
But it looks great. I think when you look at a teaser, I mean, like, there's only so much that you could show for a horror movie like Scream. So I think if this is all they've ever showed, I'd be so down for it because I think this is a great teaser.
The poster looks dope.
Yeah.
With the Scream mask in front of the window.
The subway door,
Again, I wish they did it like Home Alone 2. Have Kevin McAllister in the middle, but it's just the ghost face in the middle.
I'm sure we're going to get something like that. 100%.
Yeah. Scream 6 is lost in New York.
And then Barbie.
Barbs. Did you guys ever expect a trailer for the Barbie movie to start off like
2001?
Yeah.
No, but it is unique because they're kind of, she's like Greta's like kind of transcending. Okay, this is what your dolls look like back in that time period. Now we're going to the Barbie doll, I get it with the whole 2001 Space Odyssey, the monkey hitting the bone or whatever.
Yeah, it very much is like this. Looks like basically it's not even really a teaser. It's like, here's us recreating 2001: A Space Odyssey with like literally shot for shot, and then followed by a sizzle reel of footage. So I'm excited to see what this movie is. I think it looks to be. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this movie is going to be. But like, again, Barbie and Oppenheimer next year is going to be a wild ride.
Oh, it's a double feature.
Yeah.
That's a double
going
feature
up against each other.
Same day.
Yeah, same day.
That's not going to be good.
Who's coming out on top?
I think
Barbie going to be melted?
Oppenheimer definitely.
You could be surprised, man. I mean, Barbie's got a lot going for it. There's that whole. It's going to appeal to a more wider audience, right?
Thing too, right?
Absolutely, it's a big brand name, and also you have a great cast.
Do kids still buy Barbies?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Barbie's still a big brand.
Understand, like, I know Barbies were big in the 90s because I would see commercials and people would bring them to school, but
it's still
kids
big
nowadays. I have a niece who's never had a Barbie in her life.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm very confident that. But you just recently had, like, near where we live, we had like a Barbie museum that was set up and like a Barbie
the Barbie experience. Yeah.
Well, yes,
and like all the time that thing was packed.
It's packed. Yeah.
How many tickets did you try to buy?
Well, I bought a lot. I went every day just because I was like, why haven't they changed anything? But no, it was great every day. I'm big Barbie fan. No, it's cool, man. I like this. I like what I'm seeing. It looks like it knows what it is.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just want to see what it is.
Yeah.
So do you think it's like Barbie the toy but in human form?
Yeah.
Like living her life?
Yeah, like I feel like it's
in this
Barbie
magical world.
Yeah, like I feel like Barbie is. I don't know. Like, I don't know if we're going to see like the toy. This isn't the history of Barbie. I think they're treating Barbie like Barbie is a real person.
Yeah.
Right?
Living in a real world?
Living in a real world.
Or living in like a Barbie type of world?
Living in a Barbie world, but like it's their worlds. It's like their real worlds.
Right, but not our world.
No.
Where it's like, oh, this person looks strange.
I literally think that it's like, this is like Barbie is a person, and it's like the stories that kids will tell with Barbies is like what Greta is doing with this. Right. That's what I think.
Do you think it'll be a sequence where it then cuts out of the, like, you know, how
and it cuts at dolls playing? I 100% think
Lego
there's going to be something like that. Yeah. I honestly think there will be.
I think it's possible, yeah.
Do we have box office?
Not yet. We're still a little early for it.
The speculation of box office is that Avatar made a shit ton of money.
Well, we know that it beat the Friday numbers for No Way Home, which was one of the highest for the pandemic, right? So I think it. Horrible misquote here, but it could be about 76 million that it made on Friday. Mm-hmm. It was, I know, they were going for the estimates of 500 million by the end of this weekend.
Worldwide.
170 domestically, but it could be more than that.
Do you think we're gonna hit, like, based on what you're feeling right now, your gut after what I just told about Friday? Then that was a domestic number, I believe. Mm-hmm. Do you think it has the potential to hit 500 by the end of this weekend worldwide?
I think so. Yeah, I think I think it may even go higher.
Because you just wanted to go rewatch it this weekend. What was how was your screenings like?
So what's interesting is that I was going to go see it on yesterday. I went to go see it again, and I was supposed to see it in IMAX 3D, and I was happy because I'm like, this isn't high frame rate. But what I've noticed is that all of the screenings now are basically high frame rate, like. All of them. Like, I'm talking VIP, I'm talking AVX, all the IMAX ones, they're all high frame rate.
They're not telling you, they're not specifically saying it.
They'll show it in the app now, but when I bought tickets originally, it was just IMAX 3D. It did not
switching the screenings, basically.
Yeah, like or updating it or doing something to it, right? So I'm like, I don't want to see this in high frame rate. But every single screen in the theater is showing Avatar. Like, it is all movie theaters are playing right now. So I went to a cinema that had, I think, like 20 screens, and like 18 of them are showing Avatar on it. So the screening that I went to, it was a huge theater, but only had about like 20 people. Like, I had like the majority of the theater to myself, but the theater was packed. So it was just a screening because it was not 3D and it wasn't high frame rate. And I was like, this is a glorious way to watch this movie. It was so much better experience. Again, I missed having the bigger IMAX frame. I would have been okay watching 3D, but I did not want to go through high frame rate again. But seeing it again, love the movie. I absolutely love Avatar: The Way of Water. But yeah, that high frame rate really messes with you, and it looks so beautiful without it.
No,
it looks so much better.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know.
It looks a lot better without it. So if you guys see it again, I would say
I'm trying to go for, and it's funny because you mentioned that. Like, I was looking at VIP tickets, and then so many of them were high frame rate. I'm like, man, like, stop! I just want to watch it. Like, that's not it. I don't want to watch it like this.
Yeah.
Not the way to do it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's what James Cameron wants. Well, maybe he'll listen to people.
Does he keep the high frame rate going forward?
Yeah, you mentioned that on our drive home from the screenings. Like, do we keep that high frame rate going? And like I said, it feels like a PlayStation cinematic before you're thrown into gameplay, and that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
It is not cinematic, and for me in film, like, it doesn't look cinematic.
No. Do you turn on?
It looks toyish.
Like we turn off motion smoothing on our TVs when we watch a movie. And here's the thing: I'm all for the 48 frames for those underwater sequences to enhance the 3D,
great, yeah.
to make to benefit that thing. But at the end of the day, I still want a cinematic visual story, and that's what I need to get at the end of the day. And the visuals alone are great.
Yeah, and because I think when you're underwater, you move slow underwater.
Absolutely.
So it's not jarring. But when they're like flying on those birds and stuff like that, or like shooting, it looks like they're literally being fast forwarded.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is very jarring to watch this way.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention is like the 3D, even though it's a 3D film, there was not a lot of like
didn't do much.
It's just depth. It's not as impressive anymore, right?
No, it's not. It's not like, oh, I see this arrow coming across my head, or there's this splatter of stuff on my face.
Yeah,
we'll say
it's just more atmeric. It's just like a depth to it. But again, I don't want it.
I don't think it's needed.
Want it.
Yeah, like
James Cameron, if you're listening,
if I had never had to watch a 3D film again, like,
I would live a happy. I think I'd live a happier life.
You know, like you give me like the best is when we had that string of just like, oh my god, all these movies are now just 2D IMAX. Like that is like the best way to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our main topic of the show, which is our 2022 holiday wrap up. We're going to kind of go over.
What are our stats? We're going to individually give them stats. Today, this year, you listened to 3,000 minutes of the movie podcast.
Wait, we should. Can we do that? Can we do a holiday wrap
individually to people?
No. Can we build this for individuals?
Just for ourselves? Yeah, we could. Next year we'll do it.
We'll get a coder.
Yeah. How many guests did we have this year? How many hours of reviews did we do this year? Yeah,
that'd be cool. But like, even for our audience to know like how many hours they spent on us only.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Well, I think does Spotify Wrapped give you that?
Yeah, I want to say.
I know how many minutes of content we made, but again, it's up to a certain of a cutoff. So everything from like November, like I think mid-November I think it stops October 31st.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think November, December, like that's hundreds of hours of stuff that we've done probably since then.
So what do you guys want to talk about for 2022? All our achievements. It's like every single month was a
monumental year for us. Absolutely.
Starting in January to now, where you said our first interview last January was
Nick.
Mr. Nick and Mr. Brick,
and our
Nick.
last interview was the cast of Avatar.
Yeah.
And we had Michael Giacchino on twice. We had Alfred Molina, Ethan Hawke. We did our first in-person interviews.
Yeah.
We went to LA.
We
did our first red
carpety.
Yeah, here with Hayden Christensen and Deborah Chow.
Yeah, we also interviewed. Like before. Like I think when we look this year too at like, you know, we've been really lucky to have the opportunities that we've had, and also the growth in our community.
Yeah,
was
our
a big
community is
one, right?
huge.
Huge. Like I think I get surprised sometimes when people will message us, because sometimes we're always thinking of the bigger picture, but we're always
live in our own bubble sometimes.
But we're also like, right now there's 3 of us in a room right now recording this.
Yeah.
We don't think about the
people listening,
where it's going to reverberate around the world. And it's like, it's always cool when people like tweet or comment or message, be like, hey, I'm listening here, or I'm listening here. It's like, oh wow,
we got to follow up with that guy that was on the truck listening to all
if you're listening
episodes.
to this right now, you know,
if you're caught up
he's been listening to us.
The truck driver,
who's listening to us every episode in order. Let us know where you are now.
He won't be here yet.
No, he won't be here yet. He'll be like, Superman's coming out, like, guys, this conversation about DC was great. But I've already seen the new James Gunn Superman movie.
We've been lucky to have some incredible guests this year, as we were saying, but also to see the growth of our show in terms of like, we were in a lot of marketing campaigns this year.
Yes.
Pull quotes.
Yeah. The pull quotes. Like
first television pull quote. We had 2 of them technically this year, because we were in, you know, the Super Pets one, and then we were in the Lord of the Rings,
Rings
of Power.
And again, we like for any of our stuff to be used is pretty amazing. We've developed some great relationships with our, you know, with our PR friends,
our partners,
and, you know, with PlayStation, you know,
first video game reviews.
Like,
I know that's something that we always wanted to go down.
Yeah, and that's something that hopefully in 2023 that we'll continue doing. I'm curious for the 2 of you, do you have a favorite moment of 2022?
Oh my God. You put me on the spot here. There's so many that
I think for me, it would have been like it's LA because it was just unexpected and such a amazing time to go to like Los Angeles and be part of like the biggest show ever made and being part of Lord of the Rings, which is, you know, one of my favorite franchises.
Absolutely.
And just being there and just experiencing all that whole 3-4 days that it was, and it was really, really cool. Really, really cool. And it's like that was probably the biggest moment for me in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you?
I was gonna say, like, you know, LA is probably mine as well too. I'll never forget us like just landing there and us being like, okay, we are here for a premiere. Like we were here to, you know, to cover an event and to do in-person interviews for a show that we absolutely loved. And we've had an embarrassment of great shows and movies this year. You know, obviously we'll talk about it more early next year. When we come back, typically our first episode back is like the best of 2022, right? In terms of movies and shows and even games. But like, we've had such an embarrassment of incredible movies and shows this year. And then being able to create supplementary, you know, like content for it when it comes to interviews or reviews or just discussions, breakdowns. I think at the end of it all, when it's the three of us doing something, it's the best. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like being in the room, being somewhere with the three of you guys is always the highlight. And the fact that we were able to do what we were doing in another country, that's really, really cool. So I'm hoping that there's more opportunities for that next year.
I think you know, manifesting that there will be. I think there's a couple other, you know, great moments. Like we got to be on ET Canada. You know, we were on ET, like Entertainment Tonight. Like that was a huge moment for us, and that was also, you know, thanks in partnership with Prime Video and also the ability to do the Lord of the Rings junkets and red carpet, and that really helped us get there. And then remember all those articles that were coming out, like, you know, we had that one from FeedSpot that said that we were the third best,
yeah,
Canadian,
that was this year,
Canadian movie podcast that's out there. So you look back at that, something like that, and you're like, man, we just started 3 years ago. So that's amazing. And, you know, it's because of everyone that listens to us and likes us and hears the stupid shit that we have to say that they keep coming back. They seem to like Anthony. They seem to like you, Daniel, and they somehow seem to like me. And I'm so grateful for them. And we have this great community on Discord. To the people that are listening right now from the Discord channel, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for engaging with us. Sometimes we're just kind of sitting there like typing these things away, hoping that someone will respond. And to hear back, even just a like sometimes is like, wow, like we're so grateful. We're so grateful. Like I never want anything to kind of get to us or propel our egos.
Never. No,
and I don't think it will.
That's not who we are.
But man, there's just so many moments. We got some of the interviews we got this year were ones that, you know, we didn't see that many people getting. Like you look at Iman Vellani, who we had the opportunity to speak to, and you look at Joseph Quinn, like that's amazing for someone that, again, as small as we are, like, wow, we got those people.
Yeah. And I mean, we, you know, to talk to Sam Raimi, you know, we were in a room with, you know, Ethan Hawke and Ewan McGregor, you know,
Brendan Fraser. We shook hands with, you know, O'Connell. O'Connell right there. We shook his hands.
It's like that's something that, like, it's still so strange and surreal when it happens, right? In-person interviews are always an interesting experience, but when we were just kind of sitting at a table like we are right now, and Brendan Fraser is sitting there, and it's just like, hey man, what's up? And like, he most likely will go on to win an Oscar this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. But
right.
Yeah,
surreal.
Surreal. And I think and I think that's what it is. This isn't a victory lap for us. This isn't us just like shouting out our accomplishments this year. This is us being thankful and grateful for them, like Shay is saying. Like, this is us just being humble that we were able to build a platform that people seem to hopefully like, that studios and, you know, our PR friends that we work with trust us to, you know, be in a room with people. You know, we were in our interview with Eric Bauza was originally scheduled to be about 8 to 10 minutes, and we were in a room with him hanging out for 30 minutes. And that was our whole interview, was 30 minutes, because I think you seem to like us, right?
You seem to want to keep talking.
You know, we're huge fans of his, and we've been wanting to. And I think what's funny this year, and those listening to this will also see next year, there's been a lot of fulfillment this year in the sense of so many people who've been on our show this year and next year are ones that we've tried to have on our show before. You know, so that happened a lot with Michael Giacchino and Paul Walter Hauser and some other ones that Eric Bauza.
There were a lot of let's just say there were a lot of DMs that we've sent that were fulfilled.
Yeah, that have been fulfilled
indirectly, basically.
Exactly, and it's wild to see how that's now come full circle. Yeah. That now we've been offered interviews with these people, and you're like, yes, 100% yes.
In a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, now they even follow you on social media.
Yeah.
we have like DM conversations with these
pervert
people.
Anymore.
Oh yeah. Whoa, we're not like the come on my podcast type thing.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if they go read our DMs again. They're like, hey, did you message me a bunch of times before?
Can you stop messaging me? No, we would never harass people. But it's also just funny because it's like, but that's part of it, right? Like when you're growing anything, it's all about that. Are you growing too? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you don't want to just be out of the gate owed anything or feel like you're owed anything, because you're not. You know, there's lots of opportunities that we don't get.
Yeah.
But we go with the flow and we keep growing and developing our own way, because those opportunities will always come around, and we want success for everybody. But we're also just kind of looking at, okay, how can we become better? How do we make the best show we can? Because at the end of the day, it's the three of us doing something and creating something that we want to be the best it can be. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's that thing with like, nothing's ever like a hard no. It may be like not right now, which we've
gotten our share of those.
We've gotten a lot of our shares of that all the time to this day. Like we're not owed anything.
No.
You know what I mean? All we can do is put out the best possible show, video, edit, social media posts that we can. And we keep growing from there, right? And hopefully next year, the growth will continue. And it will continue because that's who we are. We're always about growing.
I would say another moment was when we had our first panel on Apple Podcasts with Ewan McGregor and Ethan Hawke interview
on the front page next to Joe Biden on Smartlist.
And it was like one of those those banners that the
carousel banner.
The carousel banner, if you've ever gone to Apple Podcasts, you see it on your computer. It's like, okay, I wonder how you get there. And we were on there, and it took a lot of red tape to get to, and it was this convoluted way of accessing. But when we got there, it was so fulfilling. Yeah. And it's like, man, we're real.
And showing up in the other categories, like indie favorites, film favorites, during TIFF. Yeah. We're on the front page of Apple Podcasts as well, too. Okay. Just with all of, next to The Hollywood Reporter and Variety and like these other shows that we know and love. Like, it's cool to be thought of in the same regard of that. And I think a big part of that is, a lot of the studios that we work with is seeing the potential in us and what we're doing and wanting to grow. And right now we have a lot of things in the work for 2023 that hopefully will only be even better next year for us, right?
We were featured in a Forbes article this year, guys. People were on Forbes and they're like, who are the young 30 under 30? And then they're like, oh, movie podcast, who that?
Yeah. I don't know. This year that you were mentioned as what was it, Daredevil? Kind of,
that was a Forbes one. That was a Forbes.
But that was like our name was up there. You saw the movie podcast,
and then we been in a lot of the social reactions roundups for like tons of stuff. Spotify. We just had a Spotify this week again.
We just did. You're right.
Our Avatar interview.
We started this year, right?
Sorry?
Did it start this year?
No, it started last year, actually, because our first one that we did was Master of None.
Yes.
But we did start this year with Spotify and Peacemaker, and here we are at the end of the year talking about James Gunn and Peacemaker in the future of that. So a lot of fulfillment this year, a lot of full circle moments this year, and hopefully that's going to continue.
But a lot of gratitude. That's, I think, at the end of the day, like... And I hope none of what we just said right now made it sound like we were just like,
this isn't a victory lap for us. This isn't us like skating with the Stanley Cup over our heads right now.
This is us just being like so grateful,
humbled
just
by the year.
Humbled, so just like we're constantly getting ourselves checked, and we're never letting each moment just go past us. I want to celebrate every major milestone and even every tiny milestone or whatever. Everything to me is a milestone on the show.
It's true. And like today is a milestone. Yeah. Episode 150.
Sequential.
Yeah.
and I would say, like, if we didn't have all these interviews, we would definitely have more numbers in our podcast for sure.
What do you mean?
Like, we would probably be at like probably 200.
You mean main episodes?
Yes. Because we break up reviews and interviews now.
Yeah.
We'd be a lot higher.
So much now that we have so many more reviews to do.
Yeah.
So many more interviews that we're doing. Like,
we've broken up the format of our show when we started, one episode every single Monday.
yeah.
And then it snowballed from there. And in 2020, pandemic hits, we also had to pivot and change how we do things. And it's evolved a lot since then. And I think right now we're making the best version that we've ever made in the movie podcast. And I'm excited in 2023 to see how we evolve, but also just keep evolving the show.
We've also hired James Gunn to run our podcast as well. And that's also why we hate to break that news now.
He's also firing the three of us. There's no moving forward.
Like, I don't want anything from the old guard left. James, why? Please keep us on. I can't show my face anywhere without this.
And January for us, like when we come back, no pun intended,
What's the pun?
it's going to be huge.
I don't get what's the pun?
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
But why are you winking at me?
Wait, is the pun intended?
Yeah,
I don't know what a pun is.
I feel like the
but
pun is
if
intended.
the audience
Why are you using air quotes?
knows what I'm trying to say.
Why are you drawing what you're trying
Maybe
to say
there's
here?
something coming soon
Oh,
Okay.
in January.
if
That's
only
huge.
these, walls
Could scream.
I'm not good
or
at
a
these
couple
things.
of bad, there's no bad groupings of the movie podcast anywhere
Yes.
this year.
Huh?
I don't know, but I've never been more confused. Like, I think when we hit stop recording, you have to tell me what the hell you guys are talking about.
You got to think about that word, pun intended.
Oh, shoot. The pun intended was what the pun wasn't intended?
It's going to be big and huge.
It's gonna be mental. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that later, I guess.
What are you looking forward to most Christmas this year with your families, aside from just the downtime?
You know what? This is the weirdest part of the year for me, because when we stop recording, I don't know what to do sometimes. And when we come back, I'm like, I forgot how to do this part. Like, I don't like spending too much time away from you guys and also from talking on these mics. So to sit down and do nothing for once is going to feel great. I can't wait to just unwind, relax, literally let this year just kind of flow over me. So I'm excited to just take it easy.
Yeah, me too. There's lots, the start of the year, not only with just our interviews that we have, because we have a bunch in the bank already, but we also have reviews that we're lining up. We have lots of incredible things to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are we going to do?
The Last of Us is happening in like the first couple weeks of the year too. So it's like there's so much to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, what a
Pun
year.
intended.
Pun intended. No, like there's so much to look forward to next year with movies and shows and games. I think it's going to be like, because we also are recovering from the 2 years of the pandemic. So like the first 6 months of 2023 are just jam packed.
Yeah.
We're going to be busy.
And like for me,
You're leaving the podcast, I heard. That's what you're announcing, right now?
I've been working, like, it's been work, especially with video work.
Rihanna,
it's a lot of like, oh dang, we have this interview, we have that interview, we have this interview, but these are not coming till January, or some that were postponed to January. So there's a lot that
you put it in the bank and it's done. Yeah,
still have to be done. Really, like,
oh yeah.
Truthfully, I'm glad to get the downtime, but I'm just looking at now that our workload has significantly increased, what does January look like? What do we have? Like, I'm always like,
you think you're
5 months ahead.
Yeah,
like, I just want to get everything kind of like lined up. But yeah, I'm glad to have like some time off. I don't think I'll have a lot of time off if once January hits, because it'll just be back to doing all
to
this
the
stuff
grindstone. Yeah,
but it's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I wouldn't want to. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing than that. So
absolutely,
no, definitely.
This is a good problem to have.
Yeah,
good problem.
Whew, what a year, guys!
Wow,
this is our final. This is our final send off for the year.
150. It's a good place to end it.
It is a great place to end it.
Sorry, do you know what the number was for our first episode this year?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me quickly check before we wrap up.
I'm just curious.
Do you guys have a guess of where the first episode this year that we did was our top films of 2021? What do you think was the number of that episode?
Well, we're definitely in the hundreds, and I think we were probably maybe like in the 110s, maybe 120s.
I'm going to say 120.
So do you have an actual number you're going to guess, Jay? Because Anthony's guessing 120.
113.
Okay. So the best movies of 2021, that episode was actually 128.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Anthony, you're right there.
Which is wild to think, because even though there's 52 weeks in a year,
Yes, there is.
we still dropped 22 episodes this year. So it's like we were on every other week, but we still had like 4 episodes a week that we were dropping.
Oh, we were dropping so much stuff.
Yeah, like the summer was crazy. Like this summer,
People were getting annoyed by us, probably.
like, guys, we don't want to hear the movie podcast.
Yeah, like your voices are annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know why they sound like that.
Also, another big milestone for us this year, we had a lot of special guests joining us on the show this year too, and we got to join some other podcasts as well. So we had Klein on for our God of War. We had Camille on for Wakanda Forever spoiler cast.
That's just recent too.
We got to be on the Console Creatures podcast as well too, to talk God of War. And just recently, our friends Adam Scholes, who was on our show back in 2020, he had me on the Springfield Googleplex
the
podcast,
the Simpsons movie podcast,
the Simpsons movie podcast, right? The podcast for Simpsons fans, like to talk It's a Wonderful Life. So it's like, it's crazy that we've made some really incredible connections in this space, and hopefully that's going to grow next year too.
Absolutely,
yeah. It's gonna be a good year.
It is.
It's a movie, right? A Good Year?
The Good Year? It's also a tire brand.
Good year. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch throughout the week for our review episodes on all the latest movies and series. We actually won't have anything until the new year, so don't worry about that. Follow us, please, on socials at the Movie Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, comment. We're always looking for some interest. We always get interesting comments. I feel like YouTube, it brings out the
everyone
most weirdest people in the world. And give us a 5-star review. I know we've already hit the 5-star review needed for Rotten Tomatoes, which is going to be a huge thing for us this year too. I hope so.
I want to be a Rotten Tomato.
But we always like more reviews. We like letters to be sent in, questions to be sent in at hello@themoviepodcast.ca. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa to all the holidays out there. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast.
And we'll see you next year.